Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 436, and today we're doing Battle in the Heart of the Huntress Worlds Qualifier. And so, the second open of the Heart of the Huntress patch, the Heart of the Huntress season, this is going to be the Worlds Qualifier as well, so lots of excitement. So if you're looking to just skip ahead to the gameplay, today we're going to be playing Aatrox Vayne, we're going to play Jax Ornn, and we're going to play Jinx Kennen. These all have our own little spicy touches attached to each of them, so hopefully you stick around and listen to why we play these decks and the edits that we've made to each of these deck lists. But if you want to skip on ahead, feel free to go that way. But the way that we kind of came up with this lineup, I've got a few different concepts that I wanted to talk about to where we came up with these decks and what we wanted to play, and then some of the cards within them. Number one, it's a very balanced meta. The current top deck, the most played deck, I should say, is like Heimerdinger, Jayce, or Nasus. One or the other, they're like 7 or 8%, both right up there near the top. But this is most certainly not one of these metas to where every single matchup you're going to see Samira, or every single matchup you're going to see Siren Song. The most popular decks being sub 10%. You're just going to play a wide variety of stuff. And so I don't really recommend hard targeting any particular concepts. I don't like hard targeting Heimerdinger Jayce just because the matchups aren't very good. I don't like hard targeting Samira Fizz because that deck just won't show up enough. And so at the end of the day, I recommend just playing very good decks. And so leave your stuff like Ashe LeBlanc at home, leave your Shen Jarvans at home, bring decks that are pretty good against a wide variety of the field. Up next, we are going to be doing a little bit of trying to counter Samira Fizz. Not so much trying to counter it. I'm not playing a ridiculous strategy that can really try and 60 and 70% win rate that deck. There's a couple of reasons I don't like doing that. Number one, it's a deck that'll still just beat you anyways, right? There's a lot of decks that'll come out of Samira Fizz to where they just say, oops, I win, and you can't really do anything about it. And so it's a tough one to just kind of hard counter in that way, but I also don't want to just be banning it. And so I'm bringing a lineup that our matchups aren't spectacular, but they are good against Samira Fizz. Up next is Jinx Kennen is basically Samira Fizz. And so a lot of the ideas and concepts that you would use to be good against Samira Fizz and leading up into countering it also apply to Jinx Kennen. And if you look at, say, like the Mastering Runeterra Open event that happened a week ago, a very popular thing was to play Samira Fizz, Jinx Kennen, and then another deck. And I suspect that popularity to continue on into this week. And so if you're looking to counter Jinx Kennen and Samira Fizz, that kind of involves being able to get on the board early and then deal 1 damage to a lot of stuff. And so with your Samira Fizz deck, you're having the likes of Fizz run around, and then the Wiggly Burblefishes and the Father Furies, all these 1 health elusives. And then if you look at the Jinx Kennen deck, there's a lot of 2/1s for 1 mana. So if you start to find 1 damage AoEs, or if you start to play cards like Pytos, those are all ideas to where your cards are going to have a bit of overlap in what should be one of the most popular strategies on the day. Up next is, if we can design this lineup to kind of have the key idea we want to where we're good against Samira Fizz and we're good against Jinx Kennen, right? I'm not saying that we're just going to blow them out of the water, but we're competitive against both of those decks. If we can find a lineup that handles those two and then just isn't completely horrifically bad against Heimerdinger Jayce, then I think we've really got something here. I like what's going on with that idea. And so what I'm talking about not suck against it is be in the kind of space to where we don't have to have a positive win rate, but be in that kind of like 45 to 50% win rate to where they most certainly have an edge against you, but the edge isn't so big to where you feel like you really have to ban this deck out. And I think if we can really accomplish this, that's going to put us in a spot to where we can actually ban decks that are specifically targeting things we're trying to do. You always run into events like this and people are like, herder, I'm going to play Echo Jinx. And it's just nice to be able to ban stuff like that out while still being competitive against the top decks. Tying into that, we're not playing against Nasus today. We'll show up the matchup tables here in just a moment, but Nasus is the deck that actually causes a ton of problems for our lineup. I think the kind of second most common deck or most common lineup we're going to see is going to involve both Heimerdinger, Jayce, and Nasus. Whether or not that's Nasus Veigar, Nasus Senna, Nasa all by himself, I think that those are going to be the 2 most popular ones. And if we're competitive against 3 of those 4 decks, that means that we can just ban out that 4th deck that gives us a problem. And I think that that's what our lineup really gives us today, is being competitive against Samira Fizz, competitive against Jinx Kennen, competitive against Heimerdinger Jayce, and then we're just banning out Nasus. And so last but not least, we do have some spicy hits that we've included in each of these decks. I'll touch on them a little bit more individually as we walk through them, but we're going to be playing things like Silence and Suppress today. We're going to be playing things like Fracture. We're playing a full 3 copies of Frostcoat Cub. And then we have Reggie running around in our Jinx Kennen deck. And so we got a few hits in here. One of the things I kind of like to describe myself as is in terms of card gaming in general is I'm not that good. You know, I'm good enough to get wherever we're at in Masters, but I'm not technically proficient enough to be one of those people that shoots up to the top of the ladder. But if you give me, a 36 card deck list needing to get up to 40 and let me play 100 games with it, I'll find you a little bit of spice in there to make that thing really, really, really powerful. And I think that might be what we're kind of on track with our lineup today. And so, again, with our lineup, we're going to be playing Jinx Kennen, Aatrox Vayne, and Jax Ornn. To run through the matchup tables really quick, I feel like I hit on the most important things here. I don't feel like there's a ton of value in running around analyzing the decks that only get played in half a percentage point of the games. And so we just like to look at the top 10 and then call out a few specific things. And so up in the top left, the top 10 deck lineup matchup table looks pretty fine. The only matchup in here that looks particularly bad is this Nasus Veigar line that I'm trying to highlight just a little bit up in the top left. And this is exactly the thing you don't want to see in the lineup, to where there's 2 matchups that are just extremely bad against it. That means that they're going to have a fantastically powerful time with one of their decks. It's not to say that their lineup is unbeatable, but they most certainly have an advantage in that matchup, and we're just looking to get this one out of the way. And so, as we said, we're going to be looking to ban out the Nasus Veigar deck, but the other ones that we really care about and really mentioned are up here at the top right, to where we're good against the good decks, right? And so the Jinx Kennen matchup, pretty even across the board. We have a few hits to hopefully make this a little bit better. Definitely feel pretty good about the mirror match as well. The Samira Fizz matchup is a little bit of a struggle for Jax Ornn, but the other matchups are incredibly strong. And then the Heimerdinger Jayce, I think the matchups are probably a little bit skewed towards being more positive than they should be. I would say that Heimerdinger Jayce is more along the lines of kind of a coin flip for Jinx Kennen, and then slightly unfavored for Aatrox Vayne and Jax Ornn. But that gets us like right in the spot to where we want to be, right? We are good enough against all of these really popular decks, and that gives us the chance to kind of come in and ban out these things that can be really problematic. And so we'd made mention of things like Nasus Veigar. That's going to be our most commonly banned deck across the day. If that doesn't exist, then we're going to look up here. Recently, it's been very popular to try and double counter Aatrox Vayne. That's where you start to see things like Ashe LeBlanc and Shen Jarvan. If those turn up, we'll gladly ban those out as well. After that, it's just about banning out the decks that bring us a lot of problems. Now, as we kind of approach this event, looking at the Ruthless Rumbles from a weekend or so ago and the Gauntlets over the past week, I'd really kind of pushed for this idea of not playing any big spells. And so I don't want to be in this space to where we're playing a deck reliant on Champion Strength. I don't want to play a deck reliant on Buried in Ice. I don't want to play a deck reliant on, oh boy, let's go big and say that thing that summons all of the dragons, right? But we've kind of pushed that idea out of our lineup, and so it used to be a little bit more important to ban out things like Nar Nidalee that are running both Avenging Vastaya and running Rite of Negation. But I think Norra is a very safe space to be in. It's like, well, if opponent doesn't have Veigar or any of these hard counters, then we can look to start to ban out decks like Norra Jhin, particularly. That's going to be the most common one, but even things like Norra Freylord tend to give us a little bit of problems and don't really want to deal with those in general. Very common strategy across our channel to just ban that one really big deck we're looking to avoid, and then if it's not there, just ban Norra, and that's very similar to what we're doing with this today. And so, to jump into the individual deck lists, a few changes to Aatrox Vayne since the last time we featured the deck on the channel. A couple of things to call out with our deck list in particular is we're playing Cataclysms. You don't always see Cataclysm in Aatrox Vayne, but it plays so well with the scout units like Ranger Knight Defector, and then also being able to Cataclysm and Anaka, or Cataclysm a Striatu off of our big Darkin, let us draw those cards, get the extra units, just so much utility that comes out of cards like Cataclysm, and it gives us just a little bit more interactivity that this deck sometimes lacks. Another thing that you're going to be seeing in here is one copy of Silence and Suppress. This is a card that plays fantastically against Returno Wrench decks. It plays fantastically against Aatrox Vayne, but it also has a bit of usage against things like Heimerdinger Jayce, being able to silence off a Scrap Traption. And so a lot of really powerful utility that comes out of Silence and Suppress. That's our big one-of copy. The other things to say out of this deck since the last time we played it, I did up ourselves to 10 equipment, and so we're doing 3 Spears, 3 Harps, 2 Bloodletters, and 2 Aegis. No copies of the heal one that we played there for a little bit. With the extra equipment in here, I don't feel like that heal is quite as necessary, especially with the addition of another Darken Aegis and potentially loading up the Aegis onto our challengers and then just limiting the opponent's board that way. And we have cut the 6th cost guy out of this deck, the 6th cost Harpy thing, as I expect to be playing against a lot of Samira, Fizz, and Jinx. It's just a little bit too expensive. And so cut that one out to cut our curve down just a little bit. Up next, we have Jack's Ornn. This one has a few spicy flavors to it that you aren't very commonly going to see. Number one, we are playing Frostcoat Cub. The idea with this is we're going to be playing Samira Jinx a lot, right? This deck's got to be turning up. One of the main counters that you can do to Samira Jinx is to just throw down a Frostcoat Cub on the board, get that very easy early game 2-for-1. It shuts them down incredibly hard, really limits the amount of damage that they're able to do. But at the end of the day, the Frostcoat Cub can also morph into that big Overwhelm unit, and so as we do potentially have to play decks like Norra, decks trying to flood the board, having access to this good early, good late card is very powerful. Very similarly to Silence and Suppress, we're playing a single copy of Fracture. It's a card that has some usage against decks like Aatrox Vayne, being able to blow up an equipment or blow up a Returno Wrench, but it also has that 1 damage AoE ability tied to it. And so if you're, as we talked about, like Father Fury, Fizz, and Wiggly Burblefish being a big thing, you can AoE all of those away. You can AoE away the 2/1s that come out of the Jinx decks, and just a lot of real utility that comes out of this thing. And I think it kind of warrants a copy here. In that same vein, we are playing 2 copies of Inner Beast. I'm a big supporter of the Inner Beast. No one seems to like it nearly as much as I do, but having access to the stance swaps is quite strong. Whether or not that is going to put the AoE stance into our hand, that's what we do most commonly, but being able to say give Ornn Overwhelm or something along those lines, there's a lot of really interesting things you can do with those stance swaps. Last but not least, we have Jinx Kennen, and this one is going to look a little bit odd. This is kind of a mishmash of the Jinx Kennen deck that we were playing over the course of the past week, along with the Jayce Kennen deck that we played in our previous video. And in playing Jayce Kennen, I really, really, really enjoyed a lot of the cards that came out of that list. The big one is going to be the Epic Scrap Traption. I think that this is a card that had we sat around and played stupid control decks like Heimerdinger Jayce, we would have been much more familiar with this card, but it does an exceptional amount of work in this deck in terms of letting you maintain your mana spend. And so you'll run into a lot of these hands to where, you start with like a Kennen and a Returno Wrench and nothing to discard, and you don't want to play the Kennen and lose out on the value, but you're just passing and losing out on all the mana and losing out on all the aggression. The Scrap Traption really does let you come back and recover from doing that kind of thing. And also just putting down like a 4/4 or a 5/5 can be exceptionally powerful. And so it does admittedly have some awkward moments to where you're trying to activate a Jinx and you have this Scrap Traption and you can't get the Death Rocket going because you had to spend all of your mana. But at the end of the day, I think the awkwardness that comes from that is worth it. In terms of other things that we have going with this, in place of playing Boom Baboon, we're playing Reggie, the Pharaoh's Fancier. I'm just not really impressed with Boom Baboon in this current format, and the spells that Reggie generates are incredibly powerful. Getting those 6 and 7 cost spells is quite strong. You can get the Shock Blast, Assembly Workers, Trash for Treasure turns up. Just a very, very powerful collection of cards coming out of this expensive land. And at the end of the day, you can just discard them, right? It's very easy to be in this space to where you play a Yordle Squire and you feel completely fine discarding a generated Tiny Spear. Why can't you feel the same way about generating a 6 or a 7 cost card and just discarding it from Reggie? I think it's very easy to see that expensive cost and not want to do it, but I think it's ultimately quite worthwhile. Otherwise, the other kind of strange thing in here is the 2 copies of Shock Blast. I'm quite fond and familiar with this as well. It's a card that lets us kill Vayne. It also just has the ability to just go directly to face. Nothing wrong with just hitting your opponent directly in the nugget, while also being able to kill a Jinx or a Vayne or a Tristana and the like. Very interesting cards that get taken down with this. And so, as we can see here, not a ton slower, right? We still have 12 1-drops in here between the Kennens, the Chiefs, the Squires, and the Urchins, but we have a much bigger value package in this with the 5 Mecha Yordle generators and then the Shock Blast and the Scrap Traptions. And so those are the decks. That's what we're doing battle with today. But you know what we have to do before the battles begin? We have to pay the pay-to-win price. And it's tough today. It's a little tough. And so both Aatrox, Vayne, this one's completely prismaticed out, and we got all the skins we can do. We've played Jax, Ornn in like the past 2 or 3 opens, and so everything in here is all set up as well. A real bummer in the sense that both Jax and Ornn don't have access to skins. Riot's biggest mistake for the week right there, but we do have a couple of places here in Reggie Aggro to come out and pay the price. And so the Epic Scrap Traption, I was very surprised this thing wasn't epic because it has epic in the name, but very cheap and easy to pay up on. The next biggest one we're going to have to do is Kennen. Welcome to the party, my Yordle friend. Catch those prismatics. That's what we needed to see. Now the deck is fully premium, but you might say, Bust, you're playing 3 decks, but you only chose 2 cards. Well, we will come in and get that Jinx premium as well. And so, you know, I've talked about the Infernal skins before, right? I don't like to play these skins that are like scary and sad looking, right? I like to have fun ones. Just give every single character in the game a pool party skin and I'll just buy every single fucking one, right? But like things like Infernal Swain, I'm not a real big fan of, but all of Swain's art looks pretty scary, so it's easy to let that go. But I can kind of get by with Kennen. He looks like a happy guy. He's kind of like half smiling in the picture here and stuff, and so look at that. He looks pretty good. He's just kind of fiery and stuff. He's not trying to be scary today. And so let's pay up, get the Infernal Kennen. That's going to do it. Look at that. Look how ready to go we are. Let's head on into battle. And okay, here we go, ready to jump in. And so we've got a fresh shirt on. I know it's so awkward with the kind of jump in between, but a new day is here. I got a fresh shirt on. I do need to say before we jump in, I played another 25, 30 games of Jinx Kennen yesterday after I recorded the intro video. I made a swap. I took the Shock Blasts out for Pytosses, just something that I felt like the Shock Blasts ended up just being a little bit too expensive, especially with the Reggies in the deck. And so I made that swap to give us a little bit more early game presence. But that's the only change. The lineup's still good. Got a fresh Taylor Swift shirt on. Everything's ready to go. So let's jump in. We got the birds. We got the cat that's actually a dog. Reggie Aggro. Confirmed and stuff. Pushing the buttons. Let's hit it. Got that 1 win. We got the 1 Prime Glory. I'm going to have to remember for the next set and the next season that I got to play Gauntlets beforehand. It's like I got in this kind of situation to where I knew the first open was coming up, but you're so excited to spend like the first week playing the new set, and then you don't like jump into the Gauntlets and just tool around with that. And like looking at it, you're like, I'm never going to get to the Prime Glory this month, so I'm just not going to mess with it. And then as this month rolled around, I saw like how far away it was to get to the second buy. And I was like, oh man, you gotta have a little bit more foresight as far as these are concerned. Okay, so reasonable set of matchups, all on meta decks. We got the Aatrox Vayne, the Heimerdinger Jayce, and the Norra Jhin. And this is a space to where we'll just ban out Norra Jhin. Again, I feel pretty okay for all of our matchups against the Aatrox Vayne deck. The Heimerdinger Jayce is certainly beatable, but the Norra decks are just things that we're really looking to avoid throughout the entirety of the day. And the Pytos style of cards are quite good against the 2-1s out of Kennen and then the birds out of the Aatrox Vayne. And so I'm kind of curious what the opponent's ban is here. I think it's probably going to be Jax Ornn, and then they can ideally try to 2-0 Jinx Kennen. And so I don't suspect we're going to get to play Jax Ornn this round, but if we do, he's going to be pretty successful against both of these decks. So all right, let's jump in with Kennen and Jinx, see what we can do. Maybe we can unlock a victory or two, starting off with Heimerdinger Jayce. So let's see, not much of a start. I'm okay with the Epic Scrap Traption if we have like other cheap plays, but I'm not a huge fan of this just being our start. I don't want to have to plan on going into turn 3 and playing the Scrap Traption, but I will hang on to the Returno Wrench, see if we can't find any cheaper bros to go along with this hand. The cheaper bros, non-existent until Forge Chief turns up. I appreciate it. You can come out here and do the work. Still got to make this attack. We can't just let this dum-dum sit around. Ideally, we'll pick up a way to get him off of the board, a pie toss or something, but kind of a bummer to have that be the start out here. So I'm not going to try and Mystic Shot this or anything. We'll just let the 2-for-1 come through. We are going to Parts Made Whole the Returno Wrench and take in a nice open attack here. I don't feel super great about adding any more units. Like, we can still build up into the Scrap Traption, and we're gonna have, you know, another mana refund this turn. So I think this is okay, but I'm looking to build more so into the Arena Promoter now, and then maybe we'll just look to generate like a 3-3 or a 4-4 scrap in one of these upcoming turns. Say what up, Reg? We're playing you in our deck too. And we should probably just take the spear here. I'm not foreseeing any upcoming turns to where we'll want to pick up that additional point of health. It's, you know, kind of nice the times it does turn up you want to do it, in the sense that you'll oftentimes make your Scrap Traption a little bit bigger than the opponent expects, but I don't think we need to worry about that right now.
Hey, big man. You ready to get in
A quick attack in Jayce, sure thing.
every day, Reggie.
I don't think we're too worried about him at the moment. I've actually been quite worried about a Challenger Jayce, and so it's nice that's not what we're dealing with. Then out of these, I lean towards the Fury Horn Crashers in this spot. The opponent's already got all of these 2 health units. We could look to the Bouncer and Bolt to take a hook in on the 1-1, which is kind of reasonable, but I think I'm going to prefer just the stat line coming out of the Fury Horn Crasher. He's a little bit meatier, you know. He survives Mystic Shots and stuff. What do we pick up? A Harpoon? So we can get like as wide as possible this turn. We can add Kennen, Fancier, Fury Horn Crasher, and also Electro Harpoon something. I think I'm pretty on board with that. Let's lead off with the Kennen. Then we'll look to just be discarding this Mark of the Storm. Opponent's gonna have a bunch of good blocks this turn. Not a lot we can really do about that, but kind of is what it is. We just gotta slam in this damage where we can. Now, an interesting one with the Hex Obliterator. Like the most commonly chosen card I take out of these is going to be the Sputtering Song Spinner. Parts Made Whole comes up, or not Parts Made Whole. The 10 cost thing comes up a lot, but being able to Hex Obliterator this Jayce might be useful. Or if we come across, you know, he plays a Heimerdinger, it gives us a reasonable answer. But like on our next turn, we're most certainly going to just play Epic Scrap Traption, and then we're probably going to open attack after that. And so we will have, you know, 7 mana naturally on our next attack token. And so I think I want to go with the Song Spinner here. Let's take out the Tough Turret. He's the strongest killable card opponent has on board. Add in the Fury Horn Crasher. And then we're going to send everybody into the red zone, into the face place, into the attacky spots, you know? Whatever you're calling it these days, you know? Get up in that attacky zone. That's the way it's meant to be said. Sure. All right, squad coming in. So one of the kind of interesting things that will come out of this is if he blocks with Jayce, Jayce is going to lose that couple of points of health, and then he's going to be unable to block a Scrap Traption next turn. So we might be able to punch in for a big set of damage. More realistically, it's the Scrap Traption's just going to get hit with a Vengeance, but it's got some possibilities for excitement. Alright, here comes. Here comes the big boy. Say, hey, Jayce. Do you know how to play a 6th-cost spell? I got one of those. I got one of those in my deck. And Vengeance. Oh, a Shock Blast. Interesting. So he just has to have the Vengeance next turn, right? That seems fairly straightforward to me. We're going to attack with the Scrap Traption, then he's just going to Vengeance it. So we'll have to see if anything more useful turns up. Like, this is a fantastic spot if you're able to get wide, but we're not going to be able to do that here. So let's Song Spinner. Valor, somewhat interesting, but I think we're just going to be kind of on this burn plan from this point, and I'm curious if the Fracture isn't the way to go. Like, opponent hasn't played the 3-2 boost your turrets thing yet, so we might be able to get the turrets, and then dealing the point of damage to face might be a thing. Single combat is very good if opponent's just going to Vengeance our Scrap, and then Salvage Scrap for a discard. Very nice. Very nice. Alright. Battle Step. Oh, and that came right out of the left. You gotta be like, nice draw for the turn, my dude. Nice draw. Alright, this will be fine, though. So, we definitely want to salvage Scrap. We don't want to just lose our Returno Wrench to the Nether. So we'll discard Returno Wrench. We'll discard the Spear thing. Crushbot and Blade Twirler. Blade Twirler's not horrible in this spot. And then we'll look to single combat the Jayce away. Right, we have a couple of created cards in hand for the Blade Twirler's Augment, in addition to being able to, you know, play Fracture or whatever, maybe get a point that way. We're going to get the big damage out of Kennen. That's where the that's where the party's going to start this turn. Block. Alright, so let's see what all we can get going. We want to get Blade Twirler in. With the amount of mana we have, this is kind of tough because we can look to actually just discard the Mark of the Storm and hard cast the Returno Wrench, but that's ultimately probably just too expensive. So let's just cycle with the Zaunite Urchin, and then we can look to just Mark of the Storm the opposing unit and get that little bit of augment onto the Blade Twirler. Probably want to wrench the Blade Twirler, right? This is our least likely to die to opposing removal spells card. Just got to get in for 5 damage, man. We're so close. So close. A Song Spinner. RN Jesus, do us well. Do us well, RN Jesus. If we can get in for like 3, then we're feeling pretty good, right? We got double Mystic Shot, Blow Black for 3. So, oh shit, buddy. Ripperino. All right, no complaints there. I'm just gonna try and kill him with stuff on the stack. It's just, at this point, who knows what he's picked up off of all of his card generation, and so don't want to give him a chance on the next action to have some kind of heal. I don't think there's any heal in the game. You can hit Guiding Touches off of the Song Spinner at burst speed, but that's a burst one, you know. So it doesn't, that pause doesn't matter, but there's no real reason to risk it there. Alright, the old mirror match, the Aatrox Vayne on the Aatrox Vayne, and so I definitely want to hang on to a Blinding Assault here. You can just completely run over these games if you get a bird with a quick attack, but we need to find an equipment to go along with this stuff, and so Got to take a little bit more of a mulligan to try and find it. Alright, so not putting the birds at risk, we'll just continue to pass. We can look to just say play Badger Bear on this turn. He's going to be a pretty strong blocker. Let's see what he's got. He's got a bird. So, I mean, I'm going to run out the Badger Bear. The thing that we can have happen here is if he slow casts a Darkened Spear or a Darkened Harp, we have the chance to put the Darkened Spear onto our dude. And then now if he has to have like a combat trick to get through this. It does give us the opportunity to just get fucking blown out. But, you know, if we get the shutdown here, it's so good. Can't replay that equipment now, though. It is kind of stuck onto the Badger Bear. That's okay, though. We got a pretty strong board in this space. We can add the Broadwing. We can add a Vayne, get an attack in. Hopefully start to run over this. He clearly doesn't have a combat trick, right? If he had a combat trick, he would have just taken down our Badger Bear. So we do have to worry about next turn, though. I don't think we want to just run out Vayne. Let's just take the attack with our Badger Bear. See what happens. We have this catch now, so if his angle is to say, oh boy, you got this 4 health Badger Bear, I'm going to hook it with the Darkened Harp, then we have the catch to potentially fight through that angle. Again, I have to imagine if he had a combat trick on the turn before, he would have just played it. So, we'll see what comes out of these. He did pick up a big defector. It's kind of tough with him in the sense that if he goes damage mode, if he puts the Darkened Harp onto the defector, we don't have good blocks on it. We're just going to have to take the 12. But I mean, we don't really have a way around that. So let's just make sure we have the good unit on board here. We can gain a little bit of health and maybe gain a little bit of tempo next turn, but ultimately kind of worried about it. Interesting. So we're going to lose our Badger Bear. It's not the end of the world getting to... The fuck? Did you just do that wrong? A little bit of a whoopsies. A little bit of a whoopsies. Now, the question I'm going to have here is, do we want to just go ahead and block with the Badger Bear? A, to prevent a bunch of damage, but B, we can get the equipment like tied over onto our Valor and start making good attacks with Valor. I think that that's okay. Like, I'm struggling to see a situation to where this defector does a lot on its own. You're not coming on board yet, though, Vayne. I'd love to be leveling up those stats, but just can't do it here. Ooh, we get the full clear on his board? That's juicy. That's juicy right there. So he comes in with Aatrox. So we're kind of limited in our turn now, right? Nothing in our hand is capable of taking him down, so I think we'll just add the Aatrox of our own. Are we ahead enough to try and just trade? It's such a good time to kind of like offer it up, but just a little bit mana short. Now now we of course draw a second Aatrox. This is what it is. It's kind of okay. So what are we going to get going this turn? I mean, the Deathbringer sweeps are pretty interesting. But it's like also we picked up our second Aatrox and he has the +1/+1 on him. I know you can't see him, but it's big boy Aatrox over here. And so I'm just kind of curious if we can't get out of this turn without like losing on a point of mana. But I think from like opponent's viewpoint here, they're probably going to be looking to equip a Valor, make a hook into our Valor, and then we can maybe Deathbringer sweep our Aatrox there.
Destroy everything.
Let's just add the Elkin and see what happens. Okay, I'm fine to 3-bank out of this turn. If we overbank 3 to keep opponent from attacking, I feel like that's probably a win for us. So now we've got to keep Deathbringer slashing, right? But do we want to take down Aatrox or Quinn? Has to be Aatrox, right? I think it has to be. And it's worth noting we naturally drew both of those Aatroxes, and so we still have the opportunity to play more Darken cards and draw another one. I think, right? Did playing the physical Aatrox, was that what got us the one that we just drew? I should have paid more focus on that. We've only played 2 Darken, right? We've played the Darken Spear and we played Aatrox himself. So we should be drawing an Aatrox once we add the Bloodletters to the board. That's a strong unit right there. I give you that, Anaka. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to equip the Defector. I'm going to add in Vayne. We're going to see if we can't just get 2 positive attacks in this turn, right? So we attack with the Defector, he blocks with the Naka, then we put the Darkened Bloodletters onto Valor and get the final hook in. There's our Aatrox. Okay. Let the party begin, as they say. I feel like we've got an advantage here. His World Ender is at 8, so he's definitely got a bunch of these strikes in, but we're pretty close to popping off. I think we're going to be looking to go World Ender next turn, and so I think we want to spend as much time this turn as we can. Like, we don't actually play Aatrox here, right? We just look to put the Darkened Blade onto a Darkened Thrall. We put the Bloodletters and the Spear down, and then we look to play the World Ender next turn. I'm pretty certain that's the spot we're in. Alright, take 6. Alright, so we got a Darkened Spear, Darkened Blade, a Darkened Bloodletters. Get that party happening. Seems like he might have a fish fight or something, but I think we're still fairly okay with getting 2 in. Or we can just rearrange our equipment next turn. So what do we think about this? We can't play the equipment again because we've already played it, but we can catch the equipment onto somebody and then World Ender right away. Also lets us in a spot to where, you know, we can start playing tumbles with the extra mana that we'll have. I think I like it. So let's catch. This is the guy with the middle guy here has the Darkened Bloodletters. That's the equipment we want to send back to our hand. I want to have Anaka on board. Anaka's just so strong with these attacks on the next turn if we get to attack with it twice. Alright. Cast the spell, make the magic happen. No responses. Runeterra must die. Look at how meaty all these friends are. Yum yum. Does your 10-10 Aatrox want to battle our friends? Our friends? Our 11 health with tough friends? Looks like that's what he's thinking about. So we'll see what happens, right? We have the actual Aatrox in hand now, so we can Deathbringer sweep if something juicy comes along. Can't attack with Vayne though. She's gonna be too good. Oh, look at that, hitting Giral. I wonder if there's a world where he was planning on casting spells in this combat. Like if he wants to play a +2/+2, it's gonna cost 4 mana now. Gotta dig that. Alright, I'll just let it roll. So our Anaka doesn't actually have equipment attached to it, right? And we probably don't want to send the Darkened Bloodletters onto Anaka anyways. We'll just tumble him into combat. I was gonna say, is there ever a world to where we want to just say tumble Aatrox? I don't think there is. Well, yeah, our Anaka's in the point to where Anaka's gonna fight Aatrox and trade, which seems like a win to me. Can't remember if this is actually equipped though. We got +1/+1 from Valor, and then. But if it doesn't actually trade away, if he just blocks our Anaka with the Steadfast Elkin, I don't want our equipment just kind of locked out here into the Nether. I want to be able to Darken Bloodletters off the Elkin next turn.
By my hand, I will end their suffering.
What you got? Giral Part 2? No spells for you, my friend. Alright, could have gone better. At least we didn't lose our Anaka in the mix, and so it does give us a chance to tumble him and get more spells and stuff going out in the middle.
Easy, Captain. Your peace is
I think we're pretty safe from all this stuff, though. I mean, opponent is going to get a pretty good combat here, but it shouldn't be enough to lethal us. Alright, so we have a couple of options in here, right? We can... I'm leaning towards just starting with Anaka, Cataclysm, into Striatu. Right, let's see where that gets us. Anaka big enough to survive this, and then if he tries to get too clever or something, we do still have these Deathbringer sweeps. Alright, opponent says that was too much. Alright, good set of battles. Nice start to the event. GG. Next battle. Man, I always got to stop and say with these open events, you got to give props to the dev. I love this format so much. This is a good standard format. That's not what I'm talking about. I feel like I don't know if I'd say this is a standard format I love. I've definitely had fun with it, and the amount of hatred I have for it is basically just tied to the Teemo monument, and so it hasn't been too bad. But it's just like, it's so tough for me to say, like, come and play a Mastering Runeterra Open, in the sense that you have to, like, really devote 6, 7, 8 hours of your day to playing in the event. And it's just so tough for me to fit in that kind of, like, straight commitment through. And so, like, today I went to the gym, and then I went to Target, and I went to the grocery store, and I put the groceries away, and I did some cleaning and the dishes. I did the prep work for dinner. And so I had, like, a nice healthy chunk of shit that I got done in the day, and now I don't feel bad to just sit around and play video games for like 3 hours. And so you just can't do that stuff, though, if you have to be like, okay, I have to be here for like 30 minutes out of every hour for the next hour for the next 7 hours, right? It's just so tough to pull off. But all right, up against the matchups here, the kind of wild card in this one is the Annie Samira. This is a Ravenbloom Conservatory deck. This is a one that's going to have a bunch of disintegrates in it, but I feel like, you know, we're never banning Aatrox Vayne here. We're going to go up against a disintegrate deck either way with Illaoi Swain and with Samira Annie, but I feel like the bigger kind of problem point here is the Illaoi Swain deck having access to heavy metal. And so it is a little scary in the sense that the Annie deck's probably packing Lord Broadmains as well, but at least in terms of how we were playing Illaoi Swain, we were putting Lord Broadmains in there as well. And so I think we'll leave up the Annie deck, we'll ban out Swain, and see how this goes. Okay, so both of our equipment decks get to, well, I guess all of our decks are equipment decks, right? But let's start off with Jinx and see how this goes. There is a world where we can just get way out in front of this deck with our aggression here and feel pretty good about it. So reasonable enough start here. Again, you know, it is kind of nice we're able to play these games a little bit slower, in the sense that we don't have to just rush all of these units out on the second turn of the game. We're probably going to, but we don't have to. I'm a little curious if we should have even held on to the Electro Harpoon. It's like, I like to get just like a ton of value out of these cards, and you know, we're just not going to be getting that here. The opponent's never going to be playing a unit that we really care about in this combat, so it's a touch awkward in that sense. But if the combat is successful, we get up to 2 mana, then we might be able to Electro Harpoon afterwards. I think we should have just mulliganed the Harpoon. I don't know, it's tough. We are playing against a Samira deck, and so, you know, she's a prime target for the Harpoons, but otherwise I don't envision them just playing a ton of cards that really fit the bill in terms of what we're trying to do here. But not bad. Got that Samira off the board, got the Kennen ready to battle. Curious if we'll be able to, if he was going to say kill our Kennen and we could get a parts made whole. Oh, that's just fucking awkward, isn't it? Like, can we really run out Jinx here? I don't imagine so. This is bad. This is bad. So let's just try and cycle through some of these Kennens in a useful way. As it stands with this turn, I'm fine just taking a 3-bank after this. And oh man, soaking up a bunch of spells isn't terrible. Do we want to just go ahead and get rid of the 3rd Kennen though? Like, we are to this point where we're just discarding our hand. And so, if we're just kind of going to say, okay, I'm done with Kennen, let's get it out of here, that's fine. Just the downside here is I'm not super keen on being all in on Jinx at this point. So let's just spend the mana and get all these cycles. It doesn't feel very good. I mean, maybe we should have just let that kind of happen, played the 2nd Kennen, and then discarded to parts made whole. Definite option there.
You can fix anything with anything. I'll prove it.
Remember, we're the ones who make progress.
Alright, can't block that guy. But we could. We can get a Returno wrench down in front of this thing. I think I'm on board with this. Like, I don't really want to be slamming this Kennen on the board without anything to discard to the Mark of the Storm. Says, oh, you zinged it. You zinged my blocker. There we go. Alright, we can get that value train up and running now. So he's already played one Caustic Riff. Are we really gonna come in and worry about a second one? I don't think so. Let's just keep adding dudes. Well, he's got it. I did the mathematics on that one. He certainly had the card in hand, and so I'll just pick up the toughness one here. Now we can manually equip this Returno Wrench. The thing that we have to kind of worry about with this next turn is I'd like to get Jinx on the board, but it's just kind of coming together weird and nasty. Definitely just taking this. I'm looking to save these Mystic Shots to face. You know, we still have pretty good attacks into Annie, so I don't want to jump the gun with getting that stuff down. Now, this is a pretty interesting set. The Dunehopper mech is quite strong, but I feel like we're just never going to get the attacks in with this, right? It's pretty easy for opponent to have a Disintegrate play onto the mech, especially when he already has an Annie on board. And so I'm leaning towards just taking the Trumpet Techer here, so that we ideally at least get some bonus stats out of this. And then if he doesn't Disintegrate it, you know, awesome.
We are all seeking an end to war, friends.
The Broadmane comes in. Our opportunity to our opportunity to get that Sand Soldier guy on the board. I thought it was. He has a Violent Discord. Okay. So, I mean, at this point, like, Annie's about to flip for sure, but he's only got one card in hand. And so, we have just a real opportunity to potentially stick this Jinx. Blowback. We've only got 10 mana, so if we want to Death Rocket on the turn, we're gonna have to discard a Mystic Shot. Like, what are the chances we ever just get him to like spend mana on this round? It doesn't seem super high. So the thing that this we might be able to pull off is if he tries to chain a bunch of removal onto Jinx. We do have the blowback Mystic Shot potentially onto Lord Broadmane, so that he doesn't have as much opportunity to... right, we might be able to just get him if he tries to double spell onto our Jinx, and then we get the Broadmane off the board, and he only, say, like, deals 2 damage with a Violent Discord. So we have some opportunities there. Interesting. He plays Disintegrate. Puts a Tibbers in hand. Our mana's messed up for the turn as well. Like, I thought we were going to be able to get the Death Rocket down this turn, and I can't do the basic math to... I can't do the basic math to unlock it. Alright, but he's got to Disintegrate on Jinx. That doesn't really do anything other than put Tibbers into his hand. But it doesn't seem like our Jinx is going to fall. I feel like he just got that Disintegrate going so that he could get Tibbers into hand. It's a little sloppy from us, but I think we're going to get this untapped.
Come on, Tibbers. It's playtime.
Interesting. And Reggie. the thing that we really needed to get our sixth cost to get our death rockets on board was a 6th cost spell. But I mean, if Jinx was surviving last turn, there's a decent chance she survives this turn as well. I'm leaning towards this treasured trash. I just feel like, I mean, you have 9 mana. Yeah, we can't actually cast any of this stuff. Are we just going to assume this Jinx is either A, dead, or B, never going to flip? The downside to playing Reggie. Let's go treasured trash.
Awesome day for progress.
This way. Oh, I want to play. Are you ready, Tibbers?
Watch your toes.
So this will drop us to 5. We need to get these spells out of our hand, though. So let's go ahead and Mystic Shot the guy. Prevent a little bit of that damage. We'll Mystic Shot face. I guess we can wait until next turn to Mystic Shot, but I think that's where it's going to be going. And then at the end of the day, we can draw a card like Blowback that would then let us flip our Jinx and discard the treasured trash. You know, not amped about it, but let's see what we can do. Oh, it's Yordle Squire. Alright, let's see what turns up. Not an easier way to flip your Jinx than adding 9 cards into your hand. And see what we do. Let's see what we high roll here. Gonna take opponent to 8 with the Mystic Shot. Who knows what kind of nonsense we can pick up in terms of closing this game out. Jinx is finally dead. Okay. Phew. Did we hit anything decent? Terror of the Tides is good. Fallen Sands General's good. Cygnus is pretty good as well. I think one must say that this was pretty good. Oh, hang on. We haven't summoned any ephemeral allies. Let's not start with that guy. Now, one of the things that's awkward with these Darken as well is you can't play the actual Darken off of it. And so, a bit of a bummer. I'm glad we realized Fallen Saints General was going to have 0 attack, though. That would have been a bit of a frown. Oh my gosh. He doesn't even know how good that Clockling is. Fuck me. Grant an ally 1-0. Quick attack. If it already has quick attack, double it. Okay. Horobot has lifesteal. We got to go with Cygnus here. I'm leaning towards going with Cygnus and then loading the Ballista onto something. Probably Cygnus himself. And then we can still have oh no, we can put the Ballista onto the Terror of the Tides. That's the 8 damage we need, right? The Terror of the Tides will shrink the Clockling to 0 attack. I bet one of you all saw that faster than me. Just out there waiting on me to fuck it up, right? There's a lot to worry about here, though, right? He hasn't played a Pirouette this game. He could have another Disintegrate. There's definitely a lot of angles out of this. Alright, no more cards for the turn. Counting on you, Sea Monster. Who knew we were playing Sea Monsters today? This is what you expected to see out of the Jinx Kennen deck, right? Elusive killing an opponent with Terror of the Tides? Was that on your bingo card for the day? Alright, he's taking discards. Let's see if he finds that Pirouette. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Squeeze them cheeks, fellas. Squeeze them tight. Squeeze them good. We might have just got out of that one. Uh-oh, he's blocking and shit. Oof. Nice. Fucking Reggie coming through. Look at that. Learn from the Jinx master, my friends. How do you best take advantage of a Jinx? Number 1, you do math poorly. Number 2, you just play trash for treasure. Oh, fucking A. That was a delight. Regardless of what happens to the remainder of the day. That's the kind of sequence that I really fucking hate when it happens to me. But I see the appeal. And so that must be what all the Seraphine players out there live for. You know, you play your Seraphine, you play your back alley bars and stuff, just generating all kinds of bullshit. It's probably what you live for, is stuff like that. Alright, though. Round 2. Let's see what we can do here. And so, definitely don't want the Unforgiven Cold or Ornn. I usually don't like hanging on to cards like Combat Cook, but it's just like such a rough spot for us if we're unable to find another cheap play to go along with him. And so, a lot of times I just keep on to him so that our hand isn't completely worthless. Now, I'm going to hold on to the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. I don't want it just getting smoked by a Samira next turn, and so we're still safe to play something like Favorite Artisan, but I don't want the Apprentice. We could have, I guess, played the Apprentice after he added Annie, but it seems a little unnecessary. Now, these fights should be pretty good, right? I'm trying to fight Annie. She doesn't strike back for any damage. That's pretty cool if you ask me. And the Frostcoat Cub. All right, we got all the hits on board. It looks like we're playing a draft deck out here today. Say bust. I didn't know you was playing Expedition out there. Didn't know you were playing Expedition.
Hey, I've done more with less.
But you got refined to trade with the Castaway. I was just glad to see opponents spend a bunch of mana so we can fish fight away this Annie. Yes, I guess he's not gonna just equip her with Fix Him 5000. Guess he is. Still get her out of here. Alright, need a little bit of action though. This is definitely not the kind of draw you want facing down the Annie deck. As the game goes on and on, they're just going to get stronger than us. They have a lot better late game than we do.
Tell me a story about Ornn, Hertha.
Once long ago, he stoked a fire.
Tell me a story, Hertha. Only the good ones. So what do we got here? Probably want the Overwhelm. Like, Pan of Pain is always kind of interesting in the sense that opponents playing a bunch of Disintegrates and a bunch of way to deal 1 point of damage, but I think we realistically just want the Overwhelm here. Our unit's gonna have 3 health because it's catching the Forge off of the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, and so we don't have to like worry about a Mystic Shot killing our dude. We should be able to at least get a safe attack in for the round. Ooh, now Jax turns up. He is susceptible to a Mystic Shot though. Do we want to just wait? Like, our hand just doesn't do anything, right? We drew a bunch of cards that are good and a bunch of matches that aren't the one that we're playing. And so I'm kind of leaning towards, let's just attack, see if we can't bait the opponent into spending some mana, and then we'll look to play Ornn after the combat.
I will not yield.
Okay.
Got more scars than years, and got a lot of years.
Got a lot of years. Right, we'll wait on the fish fight though. I don't think the Clockwing's quite worth it. And I don't want to be discarding Fishawhack though. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to discard Fracture. Like I was sitting here thinking, like, oh boy, we can we can fracture away this augmented Clockling, but I don't know. At the end of the day, that doesn't sound spectacular to me. Just say this is definitely one of these matchups to where we don't want to be stacking a single equipment, right? We want to kind of spread the love on our various equipment. You have, say, an equipment that gives you +5/+5, like a big bone club, or you have 3 equipment to give you +2/+2. They're both good in different situations. It's just the in the situation to where you know, you're playing against disintegrates, you want your stuff all spread out. Rip Jax. Can't quite bring myself to discard the Fishawhack just yet. Picked up a couple of bros. Okay, let's give Eartha the Light of Acacia. She should be a pretty safe attack next turn, and now we can get our equipments on board.
Jack said there'd be contenders out here.
Scout, not the scariest thing. You can't even attack with the Hookmaster. Alright, Blacksmith. I think we want Sandsworn Amulet out of these. It's like, we're about to make like a pretty big mana spend here, right? We're gonna try and play the Combat Cook, and we have Parts Made Hold Unforgiven Cold, but like against this deck, the Fearsome just has like such a possibility for strength in the sense that they have all of these small units. So I will take the combat reel off of this one. The Pan of Pain doesn't give us evasion, and so, you know, if he's gonna hit us with a Caustic Riff, it kind of suck, but I think we'll be okay.
Stories untold.
I want to attack with that Blacksmith so bad. It just that's not the time for that.
Here, fishy fishy.
We'll let that go. We don't want to feed into this damage with the Broadmane on board. So I'm looking to add Weaponsmith's Apprentice. We want to get the stats boosting up on the Fishawhack, and then we're going to discard to the Parts Made Whole next turn. The thing I'm like really wanting to do with this turn is have a 6-attack unit capable of blocking Tybalak, so when we Unforgiven Cold, we can get a kill. But we're you know, counting on this this innovative Blacksmith to get the job done, and that's kind of a tall order when the opponent has Broadmane on board. Interesting riff. Oh, that was a 2 damage riff. I was like, what are you doing that for? Okay. So are we ever going to get the Unforgiven Cold Fearsome kill? I don't think that that's going to be a thing. So let's just go ahead and prevent this damage. Or what do we fall to 3? I mean, we do have a free block on the Hookmaster if he wants to scout Tybalak. We do have Unforgiven Colds for that. That would at least have us be at 5. Really needed that 6 attack this round, though. I don't know. It's like, I'm curious if like we're even capable of winning this without Ornn, and if we should have just been cycling for Ornn. That's tough. Alright, we'll get a dude on board. We're going to do an Entrancing Lure into Tybelak this turn. Probably want it to be with a Fish-a-Whacked unit, so let's load up Frostcoat Cub. I'd love to get the big mother on board, but I don't think that's happening this round. Actually, do we mess this up? Should we be hooking in the Broadmane instead of hooking in the Tybelak? I don't know. It's like I kind of feel like we can fight through a Broadmane. Maybe those are famous last words, but just added a lot of stuff to the board. We had the opportunity to make like quick attacks with the Light of Acacia as well, but I don't know. I don't like how we handled this turn. Like he's clearly just going to try and aggro us next turn. And we've, just given up all of our stats when he has the 2 Overwhelm units on board now. Sure. So we gotta draw an Unforgiven Cold or a Three Sisters or something. Yeah, just gave up our opportunity to quick attack. Alright, GG. Not certain we would have been able to recover that one, but I like how that game went, given that we didn't really have a real play until like turn 5. And so that's exactly why I think about keeping the combat cooks in some of these situations. Just, when we don't play our first real unit until like turn 4, turn 5 of the game, it's just so tough against decks like that. All right, next battle though, game 3 up against the Aatrox Vayne. Let's see what we can do. And so I'm fine to keep like this collection, I think, with the Cub, the Fish Fight, and the Cook. I think it's just so important for us to be able to Fish Fight down, one of those challenger, quick attack challenging scout birds. And so we'll make sure we have enough early plays to do that. And then the Combat Cook's going to be fine on turn 4. We're on the even attacks this game and won't have nearly as many mana problems when we already have a start. So, not bad. Look at this, it's a dog. Did you all know that this thing was a dog? I didn't think you called, like, this should be a puppy, right? Why isn't this Frostcoat puppy? Like, cubs, you think of kittens in terms of like little cats, but like a cub would be kind of like a big cat, right? I thought like lions had cubs and like jaguars and shit had cubs, and those are all cats. I never heard somebody call a dog a cub. Maybe it's because I don't like dogs, but I haven't been listening too closely to the narrative, but it's as far as I know. We'll take this a little slow. No reason to just run into this bird. If he wants to attack, that's fine. There's the bird we care about. So the unfortunate thing with this round is if we want to, like really get him, we want to do the unequipped Fish Fight, but we don't have the mana to pull that off. Ooh, nice bank. Nice bank. This board was definitely better than ours.
Me.
So I'm going to go the Apprentice into Innovative Blacksmith route. We'll see what we do from that point forward. He's got 2 mana, which is a little scary if he's going to have a +2/+2 or an equipment. Let's add the dude first, see what turns up. I'm going to just take the highest attack 1. Even if a Shepherd's Authority comes up, I would have been willing to take it there. So that's how serious I am about getting these things off the board. Now I have to see how he spends his mana. He goes for a Darkened Bloodletters. So we're safe to Entrancing Lure hook the Defector. The only card he could have at this point would be Catch, and we're still strong enough to take the unit down through that. Let's get him out of here. The Quinn bird's not nearly as scary, right? It's that summoning unit that doesn't have quick attack. Still fish fight it if we need to, but not nearly as scared. Scared now. No thank you. No thank you. Say, hey Bust. Hey Bust, are you scared? Yup. I ain't afraid to admit it. Yup. Whew. Don't want to see that coming through. Alright, same deal. If he's going to like re-equip with another thing, we should have been a little bit faster, shouldn't we have? We should have gone ahead and just played the Fix in 5000. He's going to get a free hook out of this, but that was a little sloppy. I mean, do we even care about these birds at this point? He just picked up Aatrox. We can't technically take down an Aatrox. This is the way we take down the Aatrox, right? We get the Frostcoat Mother on board. Let's just pass and let him do whatever he's doing. That was a little sloppy. I kind of want that 2 mana back, but it wasn't terrible at the end of the day. This is going to be a very useful Unforgiven Cold next turn. It lets us be very aggressive this round if we want to, say, quick attack the Frostcoat Mother. Very wild seeing Zolani be the play. Alright, attack. So we kind of have it all for next turn, right? We got the fish fight and the Unforgiven Cold. Aatrox come in, so no real worries about re-equips. If he has a catch or something, that's kind of annoying, but I think we're just going to be trying to set up here with the Unforgiven Colds, and so I don't really want to add anything to the board. It's, you know, fairly obvious we're up to shenanigans if we don't add anything, but I mean, I think taking the bank out of this turn is still just okay. Do we even want to take the Aatrox down at this point? He's going to be at 8 mana next turn. We're realistically just going to kill off the Zolani. Let's just wait and see. I think when it comes down to it, like, he doesn't have the mana to World Ender, but if he does come at us with something like a Striatu, I would rather take the Striatu off of the board. Now we're just out here drawing Ornns, though. Ain't nothing wrong with drawing Ornn. I ain't complaining about that.
I made this hammer. It was so good I named it Hammer.
All these juicy quick attackers ready to get out in the red zone. So the bummer with this... Wow, he silences and suppresses the one on the Frostcoat Cub. Interesting.
Fighting is my first language. Here comes my molten friend.
So, I mean, he's got to put Bird onto Ornn, 7/7 onto 7/5. I guess he can do that. He'll switch that around, right? He'll put his, well, his 7/7's going to die either way, I guess. I was going to say, regardless, I think we want to make this attack, and then post-combat, like, he's going to play a Darken, and we can hit it with Fish Fight. Either way, it's enough for lethal. Very surprised he hit the one on the Frostcoat instead of the Ornn. I guess that does take away one of our overwhelm options, though, right? That's probably the line of thought there. Ornn generates the ram even if he doesn't have an equipment attached, but the Frostcoat Cub has overwhelm naturally. Nonetheless, GG. On to the next one. All right, queued it up. Opponent found. What do we have here? So, Aatrox Vayne. Everybody's playing Aatrox Vayne today, right? We got Teemo, Tristana, Bandle City. This is the one I'm thinking of banning, and then there's Scouts. Now, the problem with Scouts is it's quite good against the Jinx Echo deck, or the Jinx Kennen deck, but Scouts is pretty weak against both Jax and against Aatrox Vayne. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're going to have to play the Jinx deck into something. And then would we prefer that something to be the Tristana deck, or would we prefer it to be the Misfortune deck? And I'm kind of up in the air on that. I think at the end of the day, we probably want to try and cancel out the Bandle City deck, since that doesn't always play Pytosses, but Pytos is the kind of card I don't really want to be playing up against. To where Scouts doesn't typically play Make It Rains. They typically play only the +2/+2 combat trick, and then they play a bunch of bonus health spells. And so let's take out the Teemo Tristana. I expect that we're going to be playing with Kennen, and we're going to be playing with Aatrox Vayne, and he's going to ban out Ornn. Ornn, exceptionally strong against Scouts. There it is. All right, Jinx Kennen loaded up. Reggie time. www.reggietom.com. Let's go unlock it. Go spend that money, huh? Spend that money. Alright, Forge Chief and a bunch of friends. No discards, but lots of early aggro. See, Forge Chief can do the work. Not a ton of 1-drops out of the Aatrox Vayne deck, so it may be able to get a free strike in. Doesn't. Ooh, and he doesn't block. Curious. Curious is old bust. I think we'll just be taking spears along the way. But right, we get the kind of bonus shot out of our dude at this point. I appreciate that. Something cool. Blowback? Not really as cool as I was hoping for. So what's the worst that happens here? It's like he plays Loyal Badger Bear. That doesn't sound optimal. Let's just go ahead and swing. I want to kind of save this blowback, so if he's in the space to where he's like, alright, well, this is a safe turn to play Vayne, then we can still blow back Vayne when she comes down this round. That's not a Vayne. So we can't just bank all of this mana. We have to play something. Kennen.
I am lightning. I break the wind.
Looking to lightning rush, but these units are all fairly strong at this point. We still get the takedown this way, though. We'll Mark of the Storm. We have the mana to do it all, so we'll Mark of the Storm, we'll lightning rush Kennen, then we'll replay Kennen and put the damage onto the bird. Not ideal. We kind of want, you know, damage going to face and not dealing with these dumb birds, but it's kind of as good as we can do here. And this is going to be one of these spots to where we might be getting this Jinx down pretty quick. Him not having challengers is at least a bonus in that sense. I mean, if we really want to, with how this board's set up, we can just Tiny Spear our Yordle Squires and try and get in that way. I don't think I'm amped about that, but there's a possibility there.
Yeah, an even bigger weapon.
Alright, he's not gonna see this. He's not gonna see this one coming. Coming out the left field. The preemptive Darken, the Jinx Kennen Darken coming right into the board. Say what up, it's an 8/8. Don't silence and suppress, please. Don't silence and suppress, please. I'm ready to just come in swinging. Get those boots knocking, right?
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends.
Wonder if we should have. I got a little overexcited here. I think we probably should have made the scrap trap a 7/7 and then loaded up Kennen with a point of attack. But he's doing the work. He's doing what he came here to do. Make your own blocker DIY edition. Watch me load up these dudes. Let's get on board. I'm intending on adding Jinx this turn. I'd prefer to see him, spend some mana on stuff that doesn't matter first. We'll see if that's gonna come to fruition. He doesn't attack, it feels pretty good. I'm just worried about a fish fight here. Like, maybe him being at 2 mana was the safe spot, because then he can't attack with the Defector into our scrap trap if he's tapped out. But this is a fine bank for us. If we only overbank 2 mana this turn, I'm pretty happy with that outcome.
If you can fight, show me.
Alright, we're very close to the lethal. I think we just want to start going for it. Darken Fan is quite good. We're gonna have to let the 1 go through, and then we can blow back the sky away.
You're not a hero, right? Party member down.
So I'm gonna block, like if he has a catch here, that just sucks so much. So let's go ahead and get that singular block in. I'm gonna use the blowbacks. That's actually, oh, he's gained so much health at this point. So we're only drawing 1 next turn, so we can hang on to get excited. This way, if he has the catch, we still have the blocker in front to ensure that we get the kill. I neglected to remember all that life gain. We've played we've played quite a bit of the Darkened Fan in our time. This is one of our tech cards for this Kennen match, and kind of caught me off guard here a little bit.
We're doing it.
Let's take the flip, see how scary this gets. We'll probably draw like Reggie and a 10-cost card or something. So, there's always a little bit of danger in taking this route. We should probably just be banking up this mana. Like, I ultimately worry that if we go the promoter route and then we hit just a very expensive card, like we ideally play the promoter and hit a 1, but it's pretty easy for him to be a problem. Alright, Aatrox is in. I guess he's going to gain 1 million more health. Not really anything we can do about this. I mean, we could have tried to do a little bit more with Jinx in the sense that Jinx is capable of blocking this Aatrox, but it's rough. We need to really pull this off right here. These guys gonna add the Darkened Fan, and so we have to open attack in this spot. Can't empty out our hand. That's a bummer. I'm curious if we shouldn't have been, well, we could have like blown back some of these Darkened Fans, but didn't quite come together how we would have wanted. Alright, so Squeaker it is. We're just going to discard whatever we pick up off of this. We don't have to. I guess we can physically play some of these cards. Like Dune Hopper Mech may have a place in this world. Maybe we just take Trumpet Decker here and see what opponent does. And just say, all right, well, I'm not getting a Death Rocket this turn. I was really expecting him to just play a Darkened Fan. Or I'm sorry, the Darkened Fan and get the 3 units. It's kind of odd to see him not take that route. So we have a bit of surprise damage here, right? We can hit for... We just got to swing at this point. Maybe we'll get him, huh? Only taking 5. Oh my god, that's brutal. That's brutal. Fucking Aatrox, man. Whew, that's tough. Alright, so I mean, it's a spot. I mean, we can draw Reggie, right? Reggie has all the answers. We can draw Reggie and then hit Parts Made Whole, and everything is okay from there. Everything's okay from there. That's a Parts Made Whole. Alright. Needed old Reggie. Hope we didn't blow all of our luck on that previous one. All right, so up against Scouts now. Let's switch into the better matchup with the Aatrox Vayne. This is kind of one of these ideas to where it was best done by John Finkel. John Finkel, arguably the best Magic player of all time. He was playing, I think it was like an invitational. Those tournaments that you used to get to play in, and if you won, you got a card designed in your likeness, and that's how we got Shadow Mage Infiltrator. But like he like talked to his opponent and kind of convinced him to switch into playing, or switch the order of the format. And so let's lead with the Elkin. I don't think we're attacking this turn, but I don't like that. We should have started with the Fleet Feather Tracker. But he convinced his opponent to put all of the opponent's bad matchups first. Because there's a big difference between, you know, winning a match 3-0 and winning a match 3-2. And he convinced his opponent that and was able to take down the match 3-0 because he put all the bad matchups first. And so I think you ought to just put your best foot forward, your highest shot first. And this should also give us a chance to see, you know, if opponent's doing anything crazy, if they've got weird technology choices to try and take us down in this match. Let's take down the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Like, I don't think he's gonna be playing. I don't think he's gonna be playing any of the improvises, but no reason to risk it. Now that was just fantastic, right? Just taking this game right over with Valor. Yep, that happens. All right, on to game 3. Now again, this is not a particularly good matchup. The opponent has a lot of 2-for-1 potential in shutting down our 2-1 squad, but we have a much more value-heavy version of this deck, so we'll have a little bit more opportunity to potentially turn the match around. So let's hang on to the Urchin. I want to find a discard card if we can. Epic Scrap Traption ready to do the work. This is probably a spot to where we'll play it as a 4-4. I just want to pass on this first turn. Next turn, we'll play a Kennen and discard the card to Zaunite Urchin. And then on our turn 3, we'll just play the 4-4 Scrap Traption, and it should be enough to do a bit of work.
Balance in all things. Anything helps.
All right, all the Jinxes coming to the party.
Work demands a piece of ourselves.
It's I don't think Durandi Sculptor is very good in these formats, but it's interesting seeing the Durandi Sculptor come down in this space to where we're about to play a Scrap Traption, and it just makes it so much easier for the opposing units to block our big dude. See, hit this dum again.
You can fight.
Oof.
Show me.
Not bad, not bad.
This is hot, you know. Idiots.
All right, then triple Jinx draw is pretty fucking awkward, so we're just gonna have to try and get her off the board as fast as we can. See what opponent hits. He doesn't have a Misfortune, so this isn't incredibly scary, but our blocks here are all dog shit. Yep.
Blessed is motion.
Turns out all these units are pretty big. These units are pretty big.
Steady hands.
We're not going to be able to get to a Death Rocket anytime soon. Let's take the Durandi Sculptor out. Very surprised to see this attack. Warden Spray is quite good as we're out here just kind of dirtling around with Jinx, though. So I'm looking for this turn. I'm not certain if we're ever going to be able to deal damage through combat for the remainder of the game. And so I really just want to be discarding our hand as fast as we can. And so it's like I'm kind of intent on attacking with Kennen here as a spot to where
Come on, fish bones.
we can just get this expensive Kennen out of our hand and replay him for 1 mana. But, I mean, we can just end up discarding the Lightning Rush. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
All right, let's get to work.
Looks like opponent's trying to set up the mana for a champion strength. So I'm looking for this turn to potentially blow back. And then next turn we can double Get Excited and send those Get Exciteds to face. And then if we bank 1 mana this turn, we can Death Rocket. Like, that's going to be our angle to victory, is if we're able to send all of that to face and then cast a second Death Rocket 2 turns from now. I think we're going to be short, but that's where it's at. Do Kennen and Pie Toss. We can play the Urchin if we need to. The Pie Toss isn't killing anything here. All right, that's where the lethal is. If he doesn't have, oh, he doesn't have Champion Strength. Okay.
Follow my lead.
Does have Genevieve. So we can still get one of these Jinxes going, but we just have to give up on the Death Rockets for this turn. There's no way it happens. But he's gonna have to make his scout attack into Jinx, and so then we can follow up with a different one. So what happens here? This takes us to 5. can't get back on board fast enough. We have to get excited right now.
Let me see your
So this takes us to 9. Then on his follow-up attack, we'll have Yordle Squire on board. We can block the 5 and we'll take 7.
Everyone goes through. Finder sharers.
Gotta get out of here.
All right. Let's see what this mana can do for us. I think we're just dead, but... I think we're just dead, but... That was a bad block. Well, we can Death Rocket before we attack. I was going to say that was a bad block. Like, our Jinx is in danger here, but...
The ocean is no place for the weak.
See what happens. Something that costs 3 or less. Smash and Dash is pretty good. It's either the Smash and Dash or the Mecha Forcer, and Mecha Forcer doesn't do anything, right? Protects our Jinx, but Jinx already, like, survives against this stuff. If Jinx is going to be, like, running into combat tricks and dying, then we've lost the game anyways. Oh, shit. I thought we were going to be attacking with Smash and Dash. I saw that we had 4 mana, but I forgot how spell mana works. Oops. Alright, so who knows what's in opponent's hand. We can get this attack in. He's most assuredly going to block. And then, you know, maybe he'll last breath into a terrible unit, and we'll find a way to get out of this with a Mystic Shot or something. We're probably just dead to the open attack, but we gotta swing for the fences, right? Squeaker, you're not gonna do it. Arena Promoter, you're not gonna do it.
Discipline and steel.
Opponent's putting units on the board, though. Opponent's putting units on the board. GG. That's tough. Curious if we... I didn't have high hopes for that one. It's just that the Aatrox Vayne one was one. I think we did okay in there, but all the life gain that came at us was pretty brutal. All right, next battle. So I must say, I gave my regulars out there the investment opportunity of a lifetime. If you're here just for the open, you know, welcome if you're not a regular around here. But I needed some spoons, right? My wife keeps throwing spoons away at work, or air quotes losing spoons or whatever. But I don't want to buy like 16 spoons. And so I was like, man, this would be really nice if I could just buy like 3 spoons, and that should be enough, right? I don't want to buy 16 and just throw 13 of them away. And so I was proposing starting a business to where we just sell individual spoons and forks. But I got zinged today. I got bamboozled. I went to Target, and Target sells individual spoons. And so I bought 3. Well, I bought 6. I bought 3 teaspoons and 3, I don't know, big spoons. But, you know, somebody beat us to the punch. We can't use that investment opportunity. The market is already flooded. We're gonna have to find another one somewhere else. All right, into the battles, though. This is our number 1 ban and the Nasus Veigar. That's pretty easy. This Jinx here in the middle, or I'm sorry, this Teemo in the middle here is going to be the one that annoys us to all end, him being a Sump Monument deck. But, you know, we'll see what we can do against that one. And then Aatrox Vayne turning up again. Match number 5, match number 4. Aatrox Vayne every time. Impressive. All right, let's just hang on to this whole thing. I'm not, like, amped about the things that we're gonna be doing with this fracture, but you know, if we're able to kill off some birds or get rid of a Darkened Harp or something, it's gonna do what we need. And so, pretty decent start for us. Opponent didn't have a turn 1 play, so our Jax should be pretty safe here on this turn 2. And we don't have to worry about some kind of big challenger nonsense coming in and aggroing us down. Very slow draw from opponent. So, I mean, he has to be playing either a Badger Bear or a Vayne. So we're going to try and get something to work with that out of our Blacksmith. 4 attacks good enough. It's a Vayne. So let's go ahead and swing with the Apprentice. If he wants to take a value block in this space to just get completely nugged for damage, I'm pretty okay with it. That Apprentice isn't going to do anything else the rest of the game, and so nice chunk of damage that gets to roll through there. He goes Defector. Don't have the mana for Unforgiven Cold just yet, but let's see what his plans are with this. If it's the Darkened Fan that we're apparently running into today, I'll more than happily fracture the fan away. I think we're getting pretty close to the finish line here, but if it's just a regular thing, then I feel pretty good adding in Combat Cook. Now, what are the chances opponent just passes here, right? This could be a 3 Sisters to get a Flash Freeze onto the Defector. It's not. So we'll just add units and continue forward.
Did I see you using my lamp to stir the pot last night? Sorry, all the spoons were dirty.
Just move on forward. Alright. Saurion is kind of interesting. Like, what's opponent gonna add here that's actually bigger than anything we're doing? Right? If he wants to, like, fuck around with equipment, then he's just gonna get nugged. I think that's completely okay. Like, we're not gonna die next turn. We have Unforgiven Cold. And then if he just adds a unit, like, none of his units interact particularly well with what we're presenting. The thing that would be downside here is, like, Jax is a little susceptible, but I think we just want to go unit. I mean, he's got to just be out here blocking and stuff. That can't feel good, right? It's like there's going to be a fish fight onto Jax. That's okay. All of our attacks are still strong this turn.
Come and get it!
Come and get it. Let's take a poll. What do you all think are the chances we can finish this game with opponent either at 1 and we kill with Fracture, or opponent at 2 and we kill with Fracture plus Ram Stance? What do you think? What do you think? What are you feeling about that? How's that marinating in your brain piece, huh? If he falls to 1, we're just taking the Fracture kill. That's the most style points right there. I live for style points. Uh-oh. We can do it. We can do it. Hopefully, we don't regret it. Is this going to be a Cataclysm? He does have good tumble. Right, you can tumble a bird or something. Alright, no blocks. Oh man, we have to block this bird the second time though if we want to go for our thing. He's not allowing it. He says you have to combat. But oh man, if we both fell to 1, that's not what you want to see. That's not what you want to see. Oh, you fucking kidding me? How fucked are we now? Some people just don't like to have fun, you know? Some people don't like to have fun. So what's happening this turn is I'm going to put the Light of Acacia onto the Glacial Saurion. He still has the good hook in on the Combat Cook. That's fine. There's nothing we can do about that. When it comes to using our Unforgiven Cold, it's going to hit both the Defector and the Aatrox, so we should survive everything here. That's going to kill off his bird while we're at it. How can we get those last remaining points of damage? It was gonna be so sweet, man. It was gonna be so cool. Just coming in and booming him like that with the fracture. I don't know. I don't know why people don't like having fun, but, you know. Without fail, people don't like having fun. So what are we going to do with this one? We have, you know, a reasonable open attack. Our dude has the quick attack overwhelm. None of his blocks are particularly strong. I just worry, like, what do we do if we play some card and then he just tumbles? Like, we're in such a spot to where we have to just fuck around with this stuff forever that I think we just have to start swinging right now. And then maybe we'll go for the inner beast, you know? You never know. you never know. We technically have a lethal that way, but I think if we're gonna be real, that's a bit too aggressive. Now we have to mess around with this defector for the next half hour.
Demons
Oh, we didn't
walk
tumble it.
among us, masquerading as men.
Oh, he didn't have a tumble in his hand. That would be why he didn't do it. That would be why.
There are stories in the
That was a humongous mistake on our end. I was playing this whole thing just assuming he had tumble in his hand. Ugh. I would have definitely done this differently. It's like the sequence that we just took makes so much sense if you think the opponent has tumble, right? Say we add a card and then he tumbles. We have to block because his unit's a 6 power and our unit's just going to die. And so after that, you know, we play another card and then he just gets to attack. Everything's so slow. And so at least if we make the open attack with the Sarion, he either has to give up on his defector or he has to give up on his Aatrox. And then if he takes the tumbles, we can go kind of toe for toe, but we didn't just like straight up lose everything. But now, like I completely let that slip. I didn't realize that the tumble wasn't there. Now, he doesn't have the mana for it. I'm looking to just take this scout unit off of the board. But, like, what do we have to worry about next turn? I mean, it looks like he wants to go for a World Ender. I'm gonna take our guy up to 7. The thing I'm worried about here is if we go for this this fish fight and then he has a +2/+2, we don't have enough to get the kill. So that should be enough to weaken him. Now we can still add another unit to the board. Man, that's a bummer though. Not recognizing that he didn't even have the card. Bummer. World Enders at 9, tumbles at 3. You gotta take a look at this hand every once in a while, I guess. So Aatrox comes in. These spells aren't nearly as scary now. We should just be able to get some width right and feel pretty good. So let me do this real quick. Checking on these mathematics. If we put this onto the Sarion, it's going to be a 6/5. So it's not enough to actually get to survive Aatrox, but now I have to kind of envision. I think this is the way to go. I want to put Pot of Pain onto one of these, and now we can do like an Inner Beast 1 damage AoE and get the Aatrox dealt with. Okay. we ever go for upcycled Rake? I just don't think it's enough. Let's just take the biggest attacks we can.
Garlic works in a pinch.
It's just going to be a big open attack turn next turn, right?
As soothing as silence. All must end.
Wild. So right, we open attack. If he just blocks our two bigs, I think we can maybe get some spells in. Like if he world enders, I don't care. The tumble, it's not terrible at this spot, but we can just throw away a Frostcoat Cub, and then he hasn't really added to the board. I'm looking to say, all right, what if we just add our big Frostcoat Cub? And it should be tough for him to play cards that are like bigger than this board, right? If he comes in and adds a Striatu or adds an 8-cost Darken, then we're going to be able to just attack around that stuff. And I think we'll be safe. Famous last words, but I think that's the case here. Going to also look to, if we can, get quick attack onto the Frostcoat Mother. I think that would be ideal. So I'm going to do this differently than we usually do. I think we want to hit with the Mother. We probably just don't attack with the Frostcoat Cub.
The craft sings.
And we send like this. No little to bigs. We have this nice overwhelming quick attacker to the left, and so if that's where Aatrox goes, we get to chunk in some damage. And then otherwise, we have the Artisan trying to slam in there. Seems okay. Seems okay. So do we just take this trade with Aatrox? My main concern now is that he's going to put the Darkened Blade onto the Night Ranger Defector, and then he's going to play the World Ender, and we're going to have to deal with that scouting Aatrox. I'm going to just... I think he's going to equip the Darkened Blade here, and then we're going to blow it up with Fracture. That's going to be the key to not just getting aced by the World Ender. Got to stop and elaborate on that one. Stop and consider. Stop and think. Oh shit. My plane just got counterspelled. So Badger Bear is okay. I think we just look to add in Pot of Pain now. Gives us another 7 health units, so if he starts to tumble these Striatu things in, then we'll be okay. Kind of surprised he didn't just go for Striatu there as a means to tumble, right? You can play Striatu and tumble. Got 1 mana back. Man, if we go... well, we can do this, right? We can +1/+1. We can +2/+2. And then we have the catch. And so, I mean, it's not ideal. Not ideal. We should have probably loaded up this Frostcoat Cub. I think that's probably a mistake. Right, because if this goes wrong, we could have still double blocked this Striatu and then gone in big next turn. Jeez. Made it through that part, though. But she got something. Certainly got something. Hitting our back liner. Okay. Why did he attack, though? Oof. Dang, dudes. I don't know. I don't know how far we're gonna make it in this event, but we've had certainly had some fucking games today. Certainly had some fucking games. Nice. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. All right, mirror match time. So what do we got? We got our collection of birds. This is just like, we got to find an equipment, though. I'm going to hang on to the Blinding Assault. And then mulligan everything else away, see if we find an equipment. Opponent kept 3. It's a little scary. And an Aegis. It is an equipment. I did the mathematics on that. The Darken Aegis is, in fact, an equipment. Works kind of with Blinding Assault, but not perfectly in this matchup. Let's take it a little slow. Kind of tough. We might switch these equipments around after this to get like better things on the Blinding Assault, but it's not exactly where I want to be. Just we have very good hooks next turn with the Broadwing only having 1 health. Let's just pass and see what happens with the mana. If we pick up like a Darkened Harp of our own, then we'll just want to play the Defector. Alright, bird it is. Alright, the old switcheroo, the move 'em arounds. The rigmarole. Is that a word? That sounds racist. I don't know what rigmarole actually means, but I take it back if it's racist. Oof. Never know these days, man. Alright, well, we still have a decent hook into his bird. It's kind of tough. Like, I kind of want to leave his bad unit on the board because that's where his Darkened Harp is. But I ultimately, there's just so many shenanigans you can pull. Like if he just puts like literally any other equipment onto that Broadwing, it becomes such a real unit at that point. I don't think we can quite handle that. Got our Silence and Suppress, very nice.
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends.
Fiend on this Vayne. Oh, shit's happening. Why would he attack with the Elkin? He has to have +2/+2, right? There's just zero reason you would attack with the Steadfast Elkin unless you had the +2/+2. There it is. Okay. mean, I think we're still okay, right? I'm gonna add in Giral, use him to hook down Vayne, and then we can still silence and suppress. Like, it feels like we have to just be so super far ahead. If he re-equips this Darkened Harp and we blow it up, like, I don't know, the silence doesn't matter that much at this point, but getting that Striatu out of here before he even has the mana, it's a very big deal. Alright, so no major silences, but these weren't the units that you particularly care about anyways. Alright, got him down to 1 card in hand. Serious advantages abound. Darkened Bloodletters ready to put a Zolani on board. I mean, I think we're in okay shape. Famous last words as usual, but I think it's okay.
General, you're alive. A curse we shall both break this day.
A curse we shall both break this day. That was his last card. We'll gladly remove his Aatrox from the board. Watch yourselves in these spots here, right? We have the block for Aatrox onto Badger Bear if we want it, but our Aatrox is not going to heal after this turn, and so definitely some potential for problems there if you end up throwing away your Aatrox when you don't want to. But, I mean, this just has to be a World Ender spot now, right? We're going to play it next turn, but we're going to do Bloodletters and Darkened Blade onto other units.
For too long have I butchered your statues.
Hey, it's another Aatrox. Okay. I think we're okay now, right? Opponent has no equipment, so his World Ender doesn't do anything. We're about to pop ours off. That's it. That's what it took. GG.
All these years,
Oof.
I can finally.
End of the next one. Whew. Immediately found. So what do we got here? Jinx, Kennen, Scouts, and Samira Fizz. This is a very easy counter onto Scouts. We're trying to tune all of our decks to be okay against both Samira, Fizz, and Jinx, Kennen, and so hopefully the core concept of our deck will come through here. Definitely not playing against Scouts, though. So, start off with Jinx, Kennen. This is a pretty strong match into Samira, Fizz, and then also I like to think we have a touch of an edge in the mirror here, so we'll see how it goes. Right, a Kennen and an Urchin. This is like a touch unfortunate in the sense that I do like to come in and just prevent every single point of damage as possible. And so it's like I am, I'm like half tempted to just go ahead and drop the Scrap Traption on the first turn here so that we can play for value after this turn with the Kennen and the Urchin. I think this is okay. I mean, our other option is to just say we can save the Kennen Harpoon for turn 3 and then just play the Urchin and discard Scrap Traption here. I don't think we're going to have the time to get this Scrap Traption going. Let's just get rid of it.
Got me good.
Perfect draw on the Urchin.
Sarah Cole.
It's like I want to get the Scrap Traption down. It can be so powerful in this match. It's just bigger than everything. It's so hard to block, and it takes like 3 and 4 cards to get off the board. But it's just not the time for it. Maybe if we started with the Forge Chief, we'd be a little bit more interested.
I have studied every fighting manual. Anything helps.
Interesting no plays from opponent. You gotta have something, right?
Thunder.
Mystic Shot. Okay. Okay. Getting a little expensive in the old hand here. This is a... I'm just gonna take this bank. I mean, we have a ton of mana in our hand and nothing to really spend it on. And just completely take away the opponent's attack for the round. That feels pretty good to me. Lead off with Squire. We're going to get all 3 of our units on board this turn. Most certainly playing something like Electro Harpoon. Clockwing is not a ideal play in this space. Sure. It's like we're trading 1 for 1 in a lot of places, but we're just getting such a mana advantage over this guy. It's like he's having to spend a lot of 2-cost cards to kill off our 1-cost cards and isn't really getting ahead in any way.
Rules are made to be broken.
Nope. Just absolutely nope. So I'm looking to get rid of Parts Made Whole here. We'll find something to do with Squeaker in an upcoming turn, I guess. I'm not quite ready to get our Jinx on the board. I mean, it may actually happen next turn, right? It depends on how things look. We can start off with Jinx and then just discard whatever we draw to Squeaker, but that does leave our Jinx open to shenanigans, and so I'm not super happy about that. We'll get the Arena Promoter in. We've got 2 mana at this point, so we're going to be playing Salty Spinner. Costs 1 less with the Promoter, and we've discarded 2 cards on the previous turn, so he's going to be quite good here. I'm going to drop in more 4-cost cards. Yeesh. Alright, Battle Step. Commanding advantage. So as it stands, he's losing all of his board. We're not losing anything. I mean, he's in a spot, right? You can't just block our 2-1s and get nugged for a million. So, I get it. It sucks. I wonder if opponent wishes if his Boom Baboons were Reggie's. Is that how you're feeling, opponent? You say, I wish I had Reggie. I really need to be casting some 7-cost spells right now. Hey, speaking of the devil. There he is. Alright, we'll take it this way. I feel fine throwing Jinx down now. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's not right. Because, I mean, she's just going to get hit by blowback, right? And as the blowback comes in... Well, I guess the key thing here is he's not going to have access to Death Rocket this turn. So let's go with Shock Blast. It's going to get us the...
It's an awesome day for progress.
Get us a guaranteed 3. A little cheaper than a True Shot Barrage. Now, we could look next turn to actually Shock Blast the Jinx and still deal damage to face, but I feel like our open attack is probably just good enough to get in 3 points of damage. We need 1 impact and 1 2-power unit to hit on the board. So, and that's kind of the spot why I initially had Shock Blast running through this version, was the idea that, you know, you can hit Jinxes, you can hit Vaynes, you can hit a lot of really high impact units, but at the end of the day, it's just too expensive. Okay, so reasonable enough start, right? We have the Apprentice, the Cub as our big shutdown card in this match. Combat Cook, you know, it's on curve. I think it's going to be okay here. The downside with a hand like this is we just don't have any interactivity, right? We can't get in the way of anything that the opponent is doing. And so you're really kind of counting on these stats to do the job for you.
Watch your backs.
How do we feel about taking 2 here? I mean, it's... Let's be real. It's a single +1/+1 onto one of our equipment. I'm not... I'm not worried about it in that sense. So I'll drop Cub. Like, I don't want Jax just getting popped by a Mystic Shot. Jax isn't super important here, but it can be a nice play, like to open attack and then play Jax and fish fight and not have to worry about losing your unit. Like, he has some useful angles that he can take. But the other kind of interesting thing here is, you know, like adding an innovative blacksmith on this turn. Like, we miss out on the life gain. Well, with the second one, we're just definitely going to slap here. This is a pretty big advantage we have now. He's going to be able to get a big squeaker, but like any damage that he heals, we're going to be able to, or deals, we're going to be able to heal so much of it back with these double blacksmiths. And a Mecha Forcer. Like, what's the most we end up taking this round? I think we just add in another blacksmith. As long as it has 4 attack, we'll be pretty okay. I mean, I guess even the what's his name, the hooker. he's only gonna be hooking for 2, right? Let's actually just put Pot of Pain down. We could survive the hook with both of our units now. The hooker coming in. What are you, some kind of dirty pirate hooker? Whoa! What did I miss here? Oh, just I wasn't expecting Squeaker to attack. Okay. It's all good. So now I'm looking to... I was looking to initially just add Jax because we have the second Jax in hand. He's got to be pretty well protected. I think that's still probably where we want to go. Let's lead off with the favorite artisan, though.
Thing is a waiting thing.
Got more scars than years, and got a lot of years.
The craft sings.
Let me change up my style.
Interesting, no mana spend from him. So we're gonna just counter strike our Jax and he's gonna be fine, but
You're gonna want to watch this.
so surprised to see him not add a unit to the board.
And you know what?
All right.
Also
Looking strong though, got that nice healthy life total. Opponent's board kind of sucks. Healthy 18 right now. Jinx come in. We gotta fish fight this Jinx. He has what could be a slow hand. He may not even be able to get a flip off of this. Right, the Returno Wrench could be tough. So if you have like 2 units in the Returno Wrench, you're not getting anything done. He really needs a discard card to help Jinx flip.
Smile! It's called gunplay.
Interesting. So are we cool just taking 5 here, falling to 13, and then immediately trying to blow up Jinx? I mean, we don't have any ways to interact with this combat. Fall to 13. Our health is so high. I think if we didn't have a fish fight, then we'd feel a little bit better about just sending Jax into the Jinx. But okay.
Everyone goes boom!
Interesting.
Bertha, please tell us a story.
The spirit of the mountain was working at
So
his
we're going to be
forge.
really slow in getting this stuff on the board. But I mean, even I feel like if he had another blowback, he would have just snapped it off. But even if he does have blowback, he's not going to be able to.
Here, let me see that.
He's not going to be able to cast a Death Rocket this turn. I think we might have loaded up the wrong equipment as well. The Light of Acacia has Overwhelm attached to it, so has a lot of value. This is interesting, right? We have the Glacial Saurion, but he's not drawing cards. I think we can combat cook, and like we're pretty far away from lethal at this point. So I'm just going to add in the Light of Acacia combat reel. Just keep his board at a minimum, and then we can worry about value on another turn. But just like you're kind of eyeballing this Glacial Saurion and trying to give him, +4 attack, having the 9 attack overwhelm, but it's not enough to lethal at this point.
Hammer, tongs, anvil. It's nice. Could be nicer.
Oh, I thought this might have been our fracture kill for the day. I thought he was gonna fall to 1. Did not. I mean, I think we're still pretty safe here. He needs to draw a Jinx, and then typically Jinx can't deal enough damage on the next turn. Oh boy. Right, it should be pretty tough for him to deal. He'll deal 3 most certainly with the Death Rocket, but
Not at all.
after that it's tough to get in another 3.
It's hot, you know. It just snapped.
But I mean, we are super strong at this point. Got the giant overwhelming Saurion. We'll get Jax on board. Jinx is only capable of blocking our combat cook, so he's not going to be able to get in front of the Saurion with any real health. I think we're okay.
Want to line up for your beatdowns or go all at once?
Want to line up for your beatdowns or go all
Now
at
it's a
once?
party.
Hot to boiling!
There we have it. It says nope, it's too much. GG. Well played.
Winning never gets old.
Winning never gets old. Alright. I feel like I had something else to talk about in between rounds. It's kind of slipping me. We hit on the spoon investment. Sorry guys, that's not happening. We gave our thanks to the devs for the good format and the good format, right? The good format of the good format of the standard format and the good format of the open events. Now it's just a matter of what else should we be thankful for, you know? Reggie. Thankful for Reggie. Thankful for Taylor Swift. I will say I'm a huge fan of Taylor Swift. The new albums haven't really been doing it for me, but I felt like I put on my Taylor Swift shirt today. I should listen to some Taylor Swift in the car, and I turned on 1989. Just one of the best albums ever made. Fucking love that thing. And so it's odd how like the kind of musical tastes can come together. Like I feel like the best album ever made of all time is Rancid's and Out Come the Wolves. And then easily up in my top 5 is Taylor Swift's 1989. And so it's a wide variety that's coming at you right there. You can listen to this hick ass voice and be like, oh, but he likes country music, and you'd be wrong. doesn't really do it for me. And so really like that rap music as well. I was thinking earlier, it was like what my favorite rap album was. In large part, it's always been Jay-Z's Unplugged album. I really enjoy that one. But I think if I had like really grown up listening to the Wu-Tang Clan, it would have been Back from the 36 Chambers. It's just such a phenomenal album. That's like the most listened to actual rap album that I have right now. Because I feel like most people in rap are kind of like Drake, as to where a Drake album will come out and it will have like 2 absolute bangers on it, right? As the kids would say, 2 songs that really slap. But the remaining 8 songs are somewhere between like I could do without it to I don't enjoy this. But those like 2 songs just like land into every playlist, and I listen to them like dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But I couldn't think of like an actual rap album that I liked the entire way through. And I think like it's probably like a Jay-Z album, but I think it would have been 36 Chambers from the Wu-Tang Clan if I was just like a little bit older. I feel like that album probably came out in like 1993 or 1994, and my parents wouldn't let me listen to that stuff. And so it has the parental advisory sticker on the front, and so the parents wouldn't let me listen to it. So it's kind of tough. It does remind me, there is from the same kind of era, the Predator from Ice Cube. I don't know what Ice Cube's doing these days now. It seems like he's a Trumper or something. It's very strange to see him go from the lyrical stuff on the Predator and the lyrical stuff on the NWA albums to now being a Trump supporter. But the Predator was an absolutely fantastic album. My thing with it was like whenever I would get mad at work, I used to turn on Ice Cube, because I kind of felt like Ice Cube was having a worse day than me, you know. All things considered, whatever was going on in Ice Cube's life was a little bit worse than mine. And so it just was supposed to make me feel better, but it just, at the end of the day, it just kind of made me angry. And so it didn't really work out how I wanted. But back into the action here. I'm fine to play against Seraphine's Sett. Note this isn't Karma Sett, this is Seraphine's Sett. A little bit different. I've had reasonable success against it. Jack's Ornn, I'm fine to play the mirror if that's what we're going to do. Otherwise, the Jinx Kennen match into Ornn is winnable, but not spectacular. And then Samira Varus is the one I'm actually going to want to take out here. Just the big Varus decks do tend to give a lot of our lineups a problem. It is a pretty direct counter coming into Kennen Jinx, and so that's the one I want to play against the least here. He takes away our Ornn. We're going to start off with Reggie. Let's get him Reg. Get him Scrap Traption. We haven't cast any Scrap Traptions today. It's kind of a... Did we cast one earlier? I feel like it's kind of a bummer if we don't get some of those on board. But we definitely have to watch ourselves against decks with denies, you know. You can come out and deny our Scrap Traptions, not what we're really looking to have happen. But very powerful, very value-heavy draw that we just mulliganed into. I was happy enough to just start off with the Squire into the Urchin, but the discards is all turning up. The Returno Wrench is saying, let me be a part of your day. Let me be a part of your day, Bust. And our first pie toss on the day.
Well, maybe. Anything else?
So what we're gonna do here, we have to start to worry about the AoE spell, right? The 4-mana AoE. If he's got it, you know, fine. That's gonna be a touch of a problem, but we can play around it a little bit if we want. We can Yordle Squire into Tiny Shield. I don't think we're gonna go for it here. I mean, it's like in this space here, if we go for the shield onto a dude to play around the card while he still has Seraphine on the board, we're just going to get nuked either way. And so it's like, if you've got it, like, congratulations, you've probably just won the game. But I don't think this is a spot to where, you know, we're excited to try and counterspell it with the tiny shields. Now let's bank. We're going to be dropping this blowback soon. You want to hang out, bud? We got a kitty turning up. Nope, decided against it. So this is kind of interesting, like, you know, as opponent can drop cards like Aftershock, It's like I wonder what our percentage chance is of successfully landing this Jinx. I don't think it's high enough, but it's like if we can get a Jinx with a shield on her, then she gets to survive so much of the removal, potentially coming from the opponent.
Let's get to work.
Come on, bud. Nope. Change your mind. So let's go ahead and drop this Seraphine. Discard double wrench. And we're going to look to drop a pie toss on her. Not looking to drop a pie toss on her. Okay. Come on, bud. Nope. I swear this cat's gotten dumber. It's like he tries to jump on me and then just immediately backs away. Ooh, a second Jinx. I think we can go for this one now. Like, if he comes at us with a,
Her people.
if he comes at us with, like, a big removal spell, it kind of sucks, but, you know, there's a reasonable chance that she comes in and just survives the round. And then if we get to untap with Jinx next turn, we have a lot of potential to just pop off. I'm kind of regretting not dropping a shield on her just yet. She can still get hit with Aftershock. You know, I don't have high expectations for this Jinx, but we should make opponent at least spend like 2 or 3 spells to try and take her down. Alright, if he comes in and just plays Sett, there's not a lot that we can actually do about this. Let's go Tiny Shield. And so if he does come in for the Sett hook, she's got enough health to survive. And then we can take Sett down with the pie toss. Just kidding. Hey, he made it up here. He made his way up. Say what up, Bernard. I'm here to watch you battle, my dude. Here to watch you battle. So again, I don't have high expectations for Jinx, but I mean, we got a second one in hand. We might be able to pull off something with that. We could have looked to have, say, like pie tossed the Seraphine and then tried to like death rocketed the whole board, but I really didn't think that Jinx was gonna make it. Don't have enough mana at the moment. We can get the other Jinx on board, but we can't get the death rockets down. She might be worth just getting a flip, as he is kind of light on mana here, but oh no, we can't, right? If the Forge Chief gets to hit. No guarantees with that, but if we get the extra mana, we can start to death rocket this turn. Drop in the Mark of the Storm. Do not want to get Mark of the Storm stuck in our hand, right? That would be disaster mode as we're trying to get this Jinx on board. Oh shit, we're gonna pick up a wrench anyways. F. Oh man, we got that double wrench thing. That's not good. That's not good. This game's probably donezo's at this point, but you never know. A blowback away from a blowback away from excitement.
Lyrics just aren't coming to me. Time to find a muse.
Time to find a muse, Jinx. Time to find it. In the face of this about to flip Seraphine. I don't know. Like if opponents play this turn as a song spinner, then I mean we got a shot. We got a chance. So how do we feel about trying to take this Seraphine off the board? He's only got 3 mana at this point, and he needs to play 2 cards to actually catch the flip with her. I mean, I think that we need to just try and take her down, right? I mean, we do have the blowback to, or I'm sorry, the unit on board that we could kill with blowback, but it's pretty low value. If we actually get the Jinx here, this is pretty, like, phenomenal. I'm sorry if we get the Seraphine here. And a tag out. Okay. But we got him to 8. We get another Death Rocket next turn, along with a ping from Jinx. You know, opponent clearly ahead, right? They have like a million cards going on here, but you know, that's where you can start hitting some top decks and finishing off the game. You want the unit. Most expensive unit we can play. Not Lil Dipper. Lil Dipper is not going to get the job done, so it's going to be a Trumpet Decker. To play me, discard a card. Come on, Lil Dipper. Okay, okay. Shit's happening, my dudes. Shit is happening.
Alright, let's jam!
Alright, let's jam. Is he gonna deny the Death Rocket? I get it. I mean, it would be good. It's gonna kill off the Clockling, and now he has to block all of our units on this attack. Alright, doing all kinds of card draw. So close. So close. And a Clockling. Okay. So we get the point of impact in with the Trumpet Decker, and then if we can... I mean, if we can get another Death Rocket, we have a lot of live draws on this next turn. So attacking with everybody, we want him to have to block as much as he can. Seraphine's never blocking, but we get the Dum-Dums off a board. Sucks to lose the Squeaker, but it is what it is. Returno Wrench and Arena Promoter. Alright, scary. Scary, I'm scared. Did not pick up any burn spells, so we have to go into the next turn. But I mean, we're assembling quite a bit in the way of units, and so we got a chance. We're gonna have to drag this game on forever. How far is he from a showstopper? He's got to spend 7. He doesn't have the mana for it at the moment. Probably want the Shadow Tech out of this one, but I mean, assuming that this Death Rocket resolves, all of our units are going to have impact. So if opponent's at 1, you know, that's a tall order to come in and try and finish. He does get to obliterate a lot of our stuff, but where there's a will, there's a way. Am I right? Why, yes, Bust, you are right. You've never been wrong. Oof. I don't know how your cheeks are right now, but mine are clenched. Does this get the heal spell? Aw, that's lame. Lame. Alright, friends. Ready for combat. Do we hang on to this wrench? Probably not. Like, if we're gonna... Like, if we need a discard card, right? Say we had an Electro Harpoon, we're gonna have a unit die in combat, and we should be able to do something from there. I can't play the Scrap Traption. It's... There's two things with it. Like, it just gets blocked by Sett. It's not ever going to actually do anything here. And
let's throw down.
Like, I think that we're just kind of stuck with what we have on board. I don't want to give the opponent a chance to concussive palm, right? That would be the absolute disaster for us if he concussive palms the Shadow Tech Walker, then gets a block onto another unit. Alright. So are we coming in for 0? For 1? Alright, we'll call it a day. Curious. Like, this is one of those spots to where, like, if we were playing Magic, I would just keep playing if you can run out their chest block, but not here. Not here. Whew. But I realistically think that game just came down to the third turn of the game. Like, I'm curious to see, like, the win rate for Jinx Kennen against that deck. Like, I bet it's something like 52, 53%. And then I bet the games where you play against the Seraphine deck to where they bank on 1, play Seraphine on 2, and then have the Caustic Rift on 3, your win rate is probably like 10%. Like, it just is what it is. If they hit their nut draw, then you know, you just gotta suck it up and live with it. But very powerful start here. Now, I will say I typically do not like epic scrap traptions against Jax. It's just their units tend to get bigger than our units, and we don't really find enough times to get them big enough to do something. But with a draw like this, to where we have the double Forge Chief, and we have the opportunities to get 3 units on board for our first 3 mana, and then play a 5 mana scrap traption on turn 3, like that's just too much to ignore. And so I think that we're going to just continue on, continue adding these dudes. And then now it should give opponent like a pretty tough angle in terms of how to attack our board. It's actually kind of awkward here in the sense that I want to get the scrap traption on, but we didn't get any heal, or we didn't get any mana heal out of these Forge Chiefs. It's kind of awkward.
So shiny, it's gotta
Let's
be
just
way
try and control
strong.
board for the moment. So we'll take this nice chunk of damage in, and then there's a world to where we start getting good electro harpoons out here. So if we get a singular harpoon, we will get to take a 3 bank into the next turn, and then maybe the scrap traption is there, or his innovative blacksmith is at 2 health. Say he adds a combat cook this turn, and we take him down to 2 health. The scrap traption might be able to attack in fully. Alright, well that's the angle we're about to take. I don't think he ever attacks here. It's not that big of a scrap traption, but we're representing a lot of damage, and then we just have to kind of make it a little bit further to get into burn range. Our first scrap traption. I hope you do us well, you do us right. You make our opponent regret every decision they've made today. Interesting. And a catch. Okay, I was like, are you really just giving up a unit here? Man, if I would have known that was happening, we could have waited on the scrap traption for just a little bit. Too bad. Alright, here comes the squad though. Look at that 5 damage rolling through. Lame. Lame. Oh, this is bad. We really needed our Forge Chief to die here so that we could discard the wrench to our parts made hole. This is a little problematic. Little problematic. Scrap traption number 2 though. What do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? So you got your Ornn. I got my non-nons. Look out. Block. This is block. What do you say? Yeah, we're never gonna get this wrench back in our hand to get the cycle. Okay.
Strike if you must.
Get him to 4. His equipment, it's a pot of pain. I was like, what happens if Ornn comes down this turn? We can hopefully deal with that.
You can fix anything with anything. I'll prove it.
But Yordle Squire was a good draw. Give us an additional unit down, discard the generator to parts made whole.
There are stories in the ringing of steel.
Pretty close to lethal. Sure. And Jinx. Should be enough to do it.
Hammer. It was so good I named it Hammer.
Just gotta take a bit of time to get through this. I mean, we're barely big enough to get in front of this Ornn.
Hammer never fails.
So do we ever get boomed here? Right, in the sense that like he's gonna get another attack in. I don't think so. We have enough health. So let's go ahead and just Mystic Shot. Kind of slow down the amount of time it's gonna take for us to get these Jinx online. And then if we need to block with Jinx here, we still can.
You wanted the God of the Forge, you got
That's
it.
tough. That's close. I think we're okay. I don't think he has a way to give the Ornn overwhelm. Even if he does, we might have enough blocks. Oh no! Zoo knows. Does he have an impact? Shit. Oh no. What a disaster. Okay, so we have to add Jinx. Shit. I didn't realize the Returno wrenches were going to come back into hand.
Somebody hold
That's
my
a problem.
beer.
That's a problem right there. And then I thought we may be able to no block, but then I remembered Ornn is going to forge too. F.
You're all in trouble now.
Alright, well. Do some cheek squeezing, team. Do some cheek squeezing. Oh my god, I thought we were good to go there. Kinda want that Mystic Shot back. Arena Promoter. Well, he is an additional unit, assuming that we get to attack here. We have the double impact there, then the Earthshaker has 2 impact on its own. So the thing that's going to be a problem is if he has a Harsh Winds, that would get out of this space.
Kindle picked me. That's why Smith.
Hey, my forge turtle. I've been looking for that for centuries.
He's got it, doesn't it? That's why we're seeing the apprentice come in. Definitely a Harsh Winds. And so we still need to attack. Like we I guess don't really need the wrenches to come back. But if we have like a well there is some 1 damage ways that could be coming onto the board, but
Shipwrecked.
Another nail for Hammer.
that was such an awkward draw from opponent. I really wish we could have punished this harder, but just weren't able to get him in there. But I thought we had it with that Jinx turn, and that was just not the case. Burn spell. Fuck.
Hammer never fails.
That's lame. That's lame. Alright, GG. You just have to wonder if it's like when you're in that spot, you have to start to wonder if you missed a point of damage along the way. I don't know where that would have been, but certainly possibility. Now we have this awkward triple control lineup. I'm curious how bad the likes of this Caitlyn Seraphine deck is. It strikes me as something as to where it's going to be playing Seraphines and Stellacorns and the AoE spell, and I'm not like particularly excited about it, but like I think these off-meta control decks just aren't very good, and so I mean maybe that's just me being a hater, but I think opponents going to come in, they're going to block our Aatrox Vayne, and then which of these matchups do we really want to play? Like I'm fine with Jax Ornn and all of this stuff. It's just like which of these is going to be the most obnoxious for Jinx Kennen? And I don't think the answer to that is the Jayce deck. I think it's this Seraphine deck. It's going to have like Stellacorns in it. It's going to have a bunch of heal in it. And I think all three of his decks are going to have AoE in it. And so that's probably the one that's going to be the worst. Now let's see if we can't get Jinx out ahead of this. I think at least in this spot, I mean, we feel reasonably okay against Heimerdinger Jayce. And so if we can get out in front of that, might get in a good spot. All right, and so we'll hang on to the wrench. I'm not going to just hard mulligan for a 1-drop here. If we find one, that would be cool, but it's not going to be a necessity. We found a good one. Let's see what that Forge Chief can do. It's not horrible if she eats a Quietus. Daptron is the worst option, but maybe we'll get a nice squeaker.
Get to work.
Alright, I'm going to take the Squire into shield. I think there's a space to where we may actually want to just shield the Squeaker and get to attack with it next turn. Let's see how this plays out. Scrap Traption's pretty interesting here as well. I kind of like the idea. It's like, if we're going to add in the Squeaker, we can still get like a 6/6 Scrap Traption next turn. Right, so we Squeaker out the Returno Wrench. I want the expensive one here. Professor Von Mech is kind of interesting. Like, we really need to be shooting for value. We can't take Bouncer and Bolt. But I worry with Trumpetecker that we're just not going to have any units on the board whenever he comes down. So we'll take the Professor. Now I'm looking to put the shield onto Squeaker and make him a 3/3. And then, assuming, you know, we're still going to deal a point of damage with the Forge Chief, then we'll have the bigger Scrap Traption next turn. Takes down the Squeaker, though. Okay.
Need clearance, pal.
Are we going to get some of that hot Scrap Traption on Scrap Traption action right now? Ooh. Hold on to your seats, fellas. Hold on. It might be coming in. So the thing with the 7/7, it's bigger than a Hex Obliterator, and it's bigger than a Piercing Darkness. And so for him to answer this right now, he specifically has to have Vengeance. It's not the end of the world him having Vengeance here. It's kind of nice for him to have to play it when Heimerdinger isn't involved, but you know that's where a lot of the power can come out of that round. Now, do we want to open with a Parts Made Whole? I'd like to just get this attack in, and then on the next turn, we can really look to start flooding out the board.
Eminently logical.
Lore Begone's gonna come in. I was hoping to Scrap Traption this turn, but we're gonna have to play a removal spell on it. Still not a bad spot for Kennen.
My most groundbreaking invention to date.
This is looking like it's building up to a nice spot for a discard that stuff. It's building up to a nice spot for that Trumpetecker. I mean, I'm still happy about taking the Von Mech. We'll find a spot to get him going, but it's like as we build up boards like this, it feels like it would be pretty strong. These caustic rifts have been abysmal today. Alright. Make a sad noise. So, I mean, we're going to have to count on these scrap traptions now. It's another spot to where, you know, it's technically one bigger than what his can be. And if he wants to get involved with a Heimerdinger, then fine. He's already played one Vengeance, and so again, if he wants to kill it, he can't do Piercing Darknesses, he can't do Hex Obliterators. He's got to have like a big pile of spells, or he has to have drawn multiple Vengeances up to this point, or he has to be willing to throw away Heimerdinger, unless he wants to just get nugged for 8. So, not a bad start. He does get the flip, and he's going to have Floor Be Gone on the ready, but our life total is healthy at this point. And we're safe to attack with both units here. Right, if we attack with the scrap, he has to block the Heimerdinger. A little different now with the production surge happening. I don't really want to be trading into the 1/1s.
Interesting solution.
All right, the 1 healthers on board. It's tempting to drop this other scrap traption, but I feel a little bit more scared about it now that our main one is down to 5 health. Good chance it just gets smoked. We do have an opportunity to build up a lot of board width this turn, though. Seeing what Von Mech hits, we have the Arena Promoter. It's kind of mainly looking at taking down the Floor Be Gone.
Will last the ages.
That's going to be a lot of damage, isn't it? Deal 6. So if he attacks, we're taking 12. We're just too slow. We have to harpoon. So we'll throw a blocker in front of Albus Pharos. I don't think our our runaway scrap is really going to get the job done here, but that was the fastest way we had to not die. Not dying is pivotal. You want a hard-hitting strategy. Don't die. I'm gonna go ahead and just discard the scrap. We're not gonna use it the rest of the game. Now coming out of these, like, I think we need to just go cheap. The way I can envision us maybe winning this game is just flooding out the board. So if he adds Jayce, he may not be able to get 6 units on the board. So we got kind of a chance. I don't think the likes of Dune, maybe Dunehopper Mech is the way to go. It's just the nice thing with Salty Spinner is that we can actually just get it on the board this turn. So we can say play Salty Spinner, and the next turn we can play Von Mech and see if we can't get a bunch more dudes on board. I think that's where it's at. Alright, roll the dice. What did we hit? Jawl Hunter is kind of interesting. Hired Gun is a way to maybe take this Albus Pharos off of the board. Alright, we can do some stuff. I mean, we definitely got units, but I'm afraid it's not going to be enough. So he's got Jayce and 6 mana.
Albus, you wanted to see me?
Yes, I want to see what you're doing with the Pharaoh's fortune.
Get bloody.
Right, so we'll start with Hired Gun. See what his spell looks like here. Like again, we're not going to lethal. We do have, you know, the potential this round to hook both of his both of his big guys out of combat and then actually get the scrap trap into combat. But there's like a 0% chance this thing survives. He's got 1,000,000 cards. Yeah. Now we don't have the means to kill Albus, which is a serious problem. He can just attack and kill us next turn. Well, no, we can add the Squire. Make a 5-attack unit and hook him in that way. So we're going to be hitting for only 4 damage this turn.
Resignation.
We're on track, Mr. Pharaohs, as promised.
Alright, we'll get 1 damage in, 3 damage, 1 damage and 2 impacts. That's all we're going to do. 0 damage is what we're going to do. Probably just dead with this one.
You point, I shoot.
Need a ticket?
But let's at least make him get involved, right?
Now's not a good time.
Get to take these overwhelmers off of the board. Jayce doesn't get to attack for lethal. I'd say like 90% of the time, opponent just open shock blasts us and we're dead. But you know, this is as good as we can do with this.
Spinning the reels.
It's good to know he's playing Caustic Rift though, as we go into battle with the other decks.
Replicating the power spike.
Bonkers card to have to for us to have to fight through. I must tell you, like I'm trying to think of how many games I played over the past few days. I bet it's pretty close to 100, and the number of Caustic Rifts I saw over the course of the past couple of days was probably 1. It's wild to see, like if we just kind of low rolled this, or if you know, this has been more of a thing. There's a lot of matchups to where it's not very good, and so interesting. All right, though, let's hold on to the Urchin. We have that turn 1 attack. We'll cycle everything else away. Let's see if we can't find another 1-drop or a good cycle card. Forge Chief's a much better turn 1 play.
Let's get to work.
Come out.
Goes Annie. Okay.
Let's go, people.
Curious to see if the likes of a Samira comes down on board next turn, or if we're gonna have to contend with the burn spells. And so we're gonna have to ask ourselves the question, like, it's pretty easy to want to come in and just discard the spear to the Urchin, but do we instead need to say, okay, well, I'm just gonna get Caustic Rift and I need the shield? Like, it's safe enough to just stop here, right? So let's see if he spends any mana. If he passes, I think it's going to be pretty apparent that we're just about to get Caustic Rift, and we should not get 3 for 1 or 2 for 1 right out the gates here. So let's go Tiny Shield.
It's got +1 to awesome.
Maybe the shield was a mistake. I got really excited about just dropping it here, but it's kind of like just getting 2 for 1 from the singular riff isn't that big of a deal. And so having it around would have been kind of nice. And now we're out here discarding real cards. But Reggie turns up, and so what's going to be our big one this game, right? It's an interesting space in here that we have Jinx in hand already. And so I don't think we want to be discarding any of these. I was looking more for an improvise, or 6 mana, draw 2, gain 3. But I'm not opposed to kind of like trying to treasure trash on turn 7. It just means that we can't play Jinx and flip her at any point before that. I think we're kind of stuck with the Song Spinner here. But it's not like super strong in this match. And of course we can't just discard it.
An awesome day for progress.
I think by the time we actually find ourselves casting a sputtering Song Spinner, we can just cast Treasured Trash anyways. So I'm going to discard Electro Harpoon. We are not doing anything with that. Trumpet Tecker is a very good pickup here if we're going to be able to just boost all of our units next turn and dodge the Caustic Rift. That's going to be quite powerful. And then again, we can just discard Treasured Trash. This has been one of my, big talking points in terms of adding Reggie to the deck. Is you just discard it. The opportunity to play this big spell is oftentimes just a lot better than anything you would get out of say a Boom Baboon or the Flame Chompers. It's a nice preemptive Caustic Rift. Nothing we can do about that. Still want to go ahead and get Trumpet Tecker on board. Our attacks still look pretty good here. He can't play Lord Broadmane this turn as blocks all suck. Decent chance he can flip the Annie, but I don't think that's something we're super worried about in this space. I think the angle we're kind of looking to take here is we want to play Squeaker next turn. We're going to discard Parts Made Whole, and then we're going to get both of the Yordles on board, and then on the following turn we're just going to trash for treasure with like a +7 cards in hand.
First the smoke, then the fire, then the timbers!
First the smoke, then the fire, then the tibbers.
They all fall down!
Coming through!
You're up, Chumbucket.
Surprised you took down the Trumpet Tecker instead of the Arena Promoter. Seems like the tough unit's a little bit more problematic. Alright. It's coming in next turn.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
So he doesn't play Tibbers, he doesn't have a Broadmane. I don't care if he comes in and hooks a Forge Chief. We can offer up Squeaker. Like, I don't think we can just pass the turn. It's too good for him. So you're definitely going cheap. Bouncer and Bolt's kind of interesting, and it lets us hook Annie, but it dies to literally everything. And so I'm leaning towards taking Smash and Dash, and then next we're just going to play Urchin and Smash and Dash this turn. We'll play the Urchin without discarding anything. Do we ever want to block this Annie? I don't know. That's just asking to get popped by another Disintegrate. Counting on you, Treasured Trash. I'm gonna put in the work. Reggie showing the world what he's all about.
Anything else?
Okay. So we'll have to watch out for a little bit for Tibbers coming down next turn, right? I'm sure Tibbers will come and hit. Probably wants to stun the Smash and Dash. That'll kill the Forge Chief, but still got a lot of potential here. It's like as soon as he plays Tibbers, though, that's so much mana, right? He can't do anything else if he adds Tibbers to the board. So we know that we're just like free from any of his removal. So what's this? Avatar of the Tides? You'd get a mana gem, refill it, and do some stuff. Captain Farron, what up? I think that's a good start. We want to play Captain Farron third, right? That's going to get the 3 Decimates into our hand, or the 2 Decimates. I don't want to lose out on those. We ever just go for the flip? I don't think so. I have to stop and read what this guy does. Transform the strongest enemy into a 3/3 and silence it. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Tibbers has got to be coming down at some point, though, right? Like, we're good to just attack here. Play the post-combat Captain Farron. Let everybody remember how fun it was to play Decimates. Wick would be excited about this if you follow Wick on the old Twitter. I guess on the old X now, if you will. He's a big fan of a Decimate, just like me, and so getting to drop him in the standard format, quite nice. You would get a mana gem and instead refill your spell mana. When you play a spell, create a hand or something. Okay. I know that card does something. I don't entirely know what it is.
Get out!
Decimate. My friend. You've been gone for so long.
What's your favorite aminal?
Coming in for 8, take him to 5.
Interesting for me.
Coming in almost enough. Says that's too much. Can't beat a Decimate. Captain Farron's still in the format, right? It's just been so long since I've even tried to play Captain Farron that I can't remember if he's a thing. Alright though, game 3. Jax Ornn getting ready. Let's see if our event can continue. So what do we got? Not a particularly good start. Let's just take a full mulligan. Definitely need to be coming on board before turn 4. Not a bad draw now, though. Jack's turned up.
Kindle, did you wander off again? More air.
Almost skipped our attack. It's been a while. I used to, when we were making expedition videos, I used to skip that turn 1 attack. Maybe like 75% of the time, and then now it's not nearly as bad. But we have a couple of options with this turn, right? Do we want to just try and get Samira with the catch? I think I'm kind of on board with this, and then if he just passes into the next turn, that's not terrible. Now the question is going to be like, how obvious were our shenanigans as we just took that really big overbank? I don't think it was too big.
Honoring Acacia by pounding
Just
back.
the downside here is our mana's not really doing a lot of work, but forging up this Light of Acacia is going to be pretty strong. So taking the bank doesn't feel terrible. I think in this match, you know, I want to be aggressive, but I think we also need to really kind of consider how much value we're getting, and so just kind of throwing away the Weapons Apprentice doesn't feel like a win, because if we're going to kind of say, okay, well, we got the Jax down and then he just traded for our Weaponsmith's Apprentice, like we lost it did the Forge thing right, but like opponents playing such a removal heavy deck that if we're in this spot now to where he says, okay, I'm going to Aftershock Jax so he can't attack me, we can then put the Light of Acacia over on the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, and it's now back to being a real unit. So I think I really like that mana bank there. It just gives us a lot of opportunity to maximize what we get out of these equipment.
This all we got? Hey, I've done more with less. Any takers?
And the Fracture. Ready? We can blow up the pot of pain, right? That's the angle. That's what we were looking for this game. Blow up the opponent's pot of pain. Alright, well, looks like you're about to get boomed here, Jax. Let's add in the Artisan. We'll definitely want to have the Cub on board next turn as well, so we can Glacial Saurion, but if our Jax is going to die, the Saurion's a fantastic target for the Light of Acacia. So we'll see if something comes out of that.
By his hammer.
Bury me at sea.
Right, not a bad clear. Not a bad clear. Right, we don't have any weapon masters, so if we want to get the card draw, we're giving up on the opportunity to go big, right? To get the Frostcoat Mother. I mean, we could just play Piltover Castaway next turn, but that doesn't particularly excite me. But I guess a valid question for next turn is it too much to try and get the Light of Acacia onto the Saurion? I think it might be. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and load up the Cub. We can wait till next turn before we time in dedication, but I don't want to take multiple actions to get that thing on board. Check on that Samira every once in a while. She's at 3 of 6. I don't. I mean, she's certainly flippable, but I don't think that's really in the opponent's game plan today.
The craft sings. You face a ghost.
Fish meat face.
Alright. I mean, that's not a bad combat.
Come on, Tibbers. It's playtime.
Annie? Is he gonna flip? Is he gonna play the flare for the flip? Nope. There's no thanks. Samira's not that important for this. Alright, I think this is... I mean, is this really an Unforgiven Cold turn? You know, he's gonna flare Samira into the Glacial Saurion. Probably not. Let's just add in the Castaway.
Rather be sailing, but this looks fun too.
He can just go stats. And now if he tries to make the flare play, ooh, we get quite the shutdown with this. We don't have much else going on with our turn anyways. Now this is an interesting one. How do we feel about putting a Frostcoat Cub in front of Annie? Potentially soaking up a Disintegrate. I mean, it's only 2 damage. This 2 damage is not a big deal, but she is able to block next turn. Let's just pass on that. We'll take the spell here and hope for the best. If he has a all-out, right? If he has another Samira in his hand to take down the Saurion, that's kind of fine. I don't have particularly high expectations for this Saurion, but if it survives the turn, that would be pretty nice. Okay. And now Jax. And so the Light of Acacia will move if we play Jax, right? And I'm kind of okay with that. Don't have much else going on for the turn. Let's just spend a bunch of mana and see what happens. So we'll add in the Apprentice. We still have options for good equipment, right? We can hit the Overwhelm equipment, and that would be pretty useful for the Blacksmith, and so that would be the ideal one to turn up. Scout, not terrible. It would let us potentially say like attack, trade, and then attack again. So not opposed to having one of those turn up. Stops our big boy. There's the fish a whack.
Nice. Could be nicer.
Samira's got a flip now, that's for certain. She's up at 5 of 6. What's the stun for, though? Is he just going to play like a broad main? How scary is broad main?
Just when you thought you'd seen it all.
It's so weird seeing all these spells come down at this rate. Like, I know that these are slow spells, so he doesn't have too much agency in the matter, but
Want to line up for your beatdowns or go
it's
all
very,
at
very
once?
strange seeing it come down this way. I wonder if we should have forged the blacksmith first. Like, I just assume the blacksmith's going to get hit by a scorched earth, but like if his other card is going to be pirouette, that's going to be kind of nasty. So like Blade's Edge isn't in the format. I think we just load up Jax here.
Hammer, tongs, anvil.
Let me change up my style.
Make this interesting for me.
We're gonna get the we can't do it. I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get this fracture onto Annie? Get the 1 damage from Annie and then get the fracture in? Be kind of juicy. But he can block with her and flip. She'll flip and get the Tibbers, right? This might be a 1 damage AoE, and then that would give him a little bit more out of this. Okay.
First the smoke, then the fire, then the chimney!
So it's going to be close, right? We're at a fairly low life total, but our equipment are all quite good. So that's what we were talking about earlier, being able to move these equipment over to our weaponsmith's apprentices. Now they're going to be the real deal if we load them up with a fish a whack, right? So maybe. Ooh, a fish fight. It's pretty big time.
We are all seeking an end to war, friends.
So I think we probably just have to ignore the Samira, right? I'm going to come in and try and fish fight down the Lord Broadmain. Definitely want to be doing it with this Piltover Castaway. It's much more challenging for the opponent to come in and interact with, since it doesn't have any damage on it. So I would suspect, Jax was probably pretty close to dead at this point. Now, if he's stuck just doing a Samira hook into Jax, we get to reload on all 3 of our equipment.
No problem.
That gives us a pretty decent shot on this next turn to finish the game.
Isn't it thrilling?
Can't win 'em all.
So what's Samira at? She needs 4 spells. She has 1 free one, but I mean that should be pretty tough to get in. So how do we want to load up these units? If we want the Castaway to survive, I think we should go for 3 health on him, right? And then we can put the Fish-a-Whack Light of Acacia on our 2 health units, try and keep them up and out of Mystic Shot range. It's like an aftershock coming in. Okay. Short of the lethal, unfortunately, but
More air, more cold.
we gotta send him. We can't let him just play Tibbers.
Is this your best?
Gosh, we're 1 short. 1 short. Come on, Fracture. That's such high hopes for you. You're gonna do so much.
Blink and you'll miss me. Try to keep up.
He gets a rally for the turn. So we take him to 2.
Isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
That's hot.
Don't ask for permission or forgiveness.
Alright, gotta get Samira out of here. Don't want him using that rally.
Ever been to a blacksmith before?
Come out, wherever you are.
Oh my gosh, we just gotta find a way to deal.
Almost
Just deal 1 damage. So many of these games have come down to just literal 1 point of damage. Oh man. Okay. Well, we're still kind of safe on this next turn. I mean, he's like gonna play Tibbers for the stun. Might have a chance to fight through after that. Frostcoat Cub.
it's so big.
So I mean, what's this, like 11 damage coming in? And we're gonna have to block. That's a bummer. He's got the 2 damage of burn in hand. No. Oh, a riff. Okay. I'm curious if he was trying to. Oh, he's got a scorched earth. So he's got 11 coming at us. Oh no. God damn it. 1 damage short again.
They want to put in the fire.
What a bummer, man. What a bummer. Alright, well here come the flares. That's gonna do it. That's gonna be the end of our run today. Man, it's so tough. But I mean, those are the games that you gotta pull out, right? Those are the ones that are really the edge makers in these kind of events. That's what really kind of separates us from the Drissos and separates us from the world's participants of the year. It's when you have those games, you're playing these aggressive burn style decks, and then the game finishes off with your opponent at 1 health. Like that would just completely turn around the course of our event in terms of flipping some of those wins into losses. Would have just carried us up. We'd probably be 6-2 or 7-1 at this point had we won those couple of games, and it's just kind of a matter of figuring it out, right? And so I was really happy with our lineup, though. I felt like we came into this with a pretty good one. Like, running into shit like Seraphine twice, like these triple lineups really focusing in on Kennen twice, that's kind of like bonkers to me. Like, I get that there's kind of a degree to what we're doing here, to where we're focusing in on Samira Fizz and we're focusing in on Kennen, but ours is not as polarized as a way to go about it, in the sense that like playing Aatrox Vayne mirrors and stuff isn't that bad. And it's like, I have to imagine that as these players come in and you have that kind of like triple PNZ lineup, to where you beat Jinx Kennen like 66% of the time, that's pretty good. But like every time that Jinx Kennen takes a match off you, you just lose. You lose the entire match. And so it's like, I kind of get it. Like, I understand the thought process in saying I'm really going to focus in on these things. Like, I understand the idea of playing a lineup that has Ashe LeBlanc and has Jarvan Shen in it, because those are good matchups into Aatrox Vayne, and we played Aatrox Vayne like 6 times. But at the end of the day, I don't think you play against those lineups enough, and I don't think the percentages are good enough to really kind of warrant it. So, it is what it is. We caught a bad break. Again, like, as you have to play against a deck that goes Seraphine, Caustic Rift, you're just kind of like, okay, I guess it is what it is. Like, I think I would have felt a lot better in those matchups had I just been able to get in more games with them. Like the Annie Samira matchups did not feel good for them, right? I understand where that deck's coming from. It's been a deck in the past. It's been on the rise over the course of the past couple of days, but that did not feel like something I was actually scared of. And that should be a problem for the opponent. And so I get the kind of like coping mechanisms to where you say I want to play triple control deck, but I don't want to play Nasus because it's more of a meme than a real deck. But I think that's the kind of spot you land in when you're like, I'm playing triple P and Z today. Like I'm curious to see the amount of triple P and Z lineups that make the top cut. I feel like there might be 2. Which is not a particularly good number in the top 64 of an event like this. But nonetheless, good stuff. I'm happy with the lineup. I'm happy with the format. Everything went good and well there. Just got to tighten up that play, do a little bit better in the future. And so, that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.